Hello everyone, and welcome to the Fictional Vortex. So we are back with an interesting movie on what if Naruto was the Dragon Sage Ranger, wielding the Master. Morpher Naruto x Kira Ford x Gen Scott's Power Rangers. But before we start, I just want to remind you to please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button if you enjoy my content. Let's start the story. Chapter 1. Dimensional Resonance. Golden sunlight filtered through dense foliage as Naruto Uzumaki stood motionless atop the crystal-clear lake. 19 years of age and standing tall at 6 feet, he had grown into his potential since the 4th grade ninja war. His blonde hair, longer now and partially tied back, swayed gently in the morning breeze. A bead of sweat rolled down his tall, NNED face as he maintained perfect concentration, chakra pulsing rhythmically through his system. With eyes closed, Naruto extended his senses beyond the tranquil forest clearing. 2 years of Dedika, TED training had honed his abilities to detect the subtlest disturbances in natural energy. Today, something felt different. The familiar currents of chakra that flowed through the land seemed to ripple with an unfamiliar frequency. Like a stone dropped into still water. There it is again, he muttered, brow furrowing as he tracked the anomalous energy signature. Since dawn, he had been sensing these fluctuations, brief pulses that didn't match any chakra pattern he recognized. Not elemental chakra, not tailed beast energy, not even the otherworldly chakra of the Otsutsuki clan. This was something entirely new. The sensation intensified, sending a sharp tingle through his sensory network. Naruto's eyes snapped open, revealing pupils rimmed with orange, the telltale sign of his sage mode. Without hesitation, he leapt from the water's surface, landing silently on the mossy bank before darting between ancient trees with practiced precision. "Whatever you are," he whispered to the unseen disturbance, "I'm going to find you." Quote, the forest blurred around him as he accelerated, instinctively channeling chakra to enhance his already formidable speed. Birds scattered at his approach, the startled calls echoing through the canopy. As he ran, Naruto mapped the anomaly's pattern. Unlike chakra, which flowed like water, this energy pulsed in distinct waves, almost mechanical in its consistency. 15 minutes into his pursuit, the treeline broke to reveal a valley Naruto had never encountered despite his extensive explorations of the Land of Fire. Skidding to a halt at the edge of the forest, he surveyed the unexpected landscape below with growing astonishment. The valley was perfectly circular, as though carved by a giant hand. Ancient stone structures, neither temples nor tresses but something altogether different, dotted the landscape in a precise geometric pattern. At the center stood what appeared to be a massive altar, half buried by centuries of accumulated earth. "This shouldn't be here," Naruto muttered, his tactical mind immediately alert to the impossibility of such an extensive site remaining undiscovered. It's almost like it just appeared. The RGY pulses were emanating from the central structure, growing stronger with each wave. Naruto descended into the valley with cautious steps, every sense heightened for potential threats. The stone beneath his feet hummed with dormant power, sending vibrations through his sandals. As he approached the central altar, intricate carvings became visible on its weathered surface. They depicted humanoid figures in unusual armor, standing in formation against shadowy adversaries. Naruto traced the symbols with his fingers, recognizing neither the script nor the artistic style. This predated even the earliest known civilizations of the shinobi world. Who built this place? He wondered aloud, voice echoing strangely in the valley's perfect acoustics. The central altar featured a hemispherical depression, approximately the size of a human palm. As Naruto leaned closer to examine it, his shadow fell across the stone, and the carvings began to glow with a pulsing green light. Whoa! He jumped back instinctively, kunai appearing in his hand from pure reflex. The glowing intensified, emerald light shooting upward in a concentrated beam that split into 5 distinct colors: red, blue, yellow, black, and pink. The beams coalesced 10 feet above the altar, forming a swirling vortex of chromatic energy. Naruto maintained his defensive stance, mentally calculating his options. The energy didn't feel malevolent, but experience had taught him to treat unknown powers with extreme caution. He created 3 shadow clones without hand signs, a testament to his mastery, and sent them to establish a perimeter. The vortex contracted suddenly, compressing into a single point of blindingly white light. Then, with a thunderous crack that echoed throughout the valley, the light collapsed inward. The resulting vacuum pulled at Naruto's clothes before releasing a concussive wave that dispelled his shadow clones instantly. He crossed his arms to shield his face, channeling chakra to anchor himself to the ground. When he looked up, hovering above the altar was a small object, rotating slowly in midair. A coin. Naruto approached carefully, sensing power emanating from the object. It wasn't a coin, he realized as he drew closer. The object was circular but thicker, with a complex mechanism visible within its transparent sections. 5 different colored crystals were embedded along its circumference, each pulsing with internal light. At its center was an emblem resembling a dragon. The Master Morpher, a voice whispered in his mind, though he couldn't identify its source. Take it, Dragon Sage. Naruto hesitated, years of experience warning against touching unknown artifacts. Who's there? He called out, scanning the valley. Show yourself. Only silence answered him. The loading device continued its gentle rotation, seeming to beckon him forward. The energy it emitted resonated strangely with his own chakra, creating harmonious vibrations that felt oddly familiar despite their alien nature. Drawing a deep breath, Naruto made his decision. He reached out slowly, fingers extending toward the mysterious device. As his fingertips made contact, a surge of energy unlike anything he'd experienced raced up his arm. It wasn't painful. Rather, it felt like reconnecting with a long-lost part of himself. The device settled into his palm with a soft click, its weight comfortably solid. The moment it touched his skin, the crystals flared brightly, and Naruto felt his chakra network responding, adapting to accommodate this new power. What are you? He whispered to the device. Before he could explore further, his heightened senses detected movement at the valley's edge. Multiple signatures, approaching rapidly, and they weren't attempting to mask their presence. Whatever they were, they wanted him to know they were coming. Naruto pocketed the device and turned to face the approaching threat. 3 figures appeared at the ridge, silhouetted against the midday sun. They descended with inhuman speed, landing in triangular formation 30 paces from where he stood. Their appearances sent a chill down Naruto's spine. They were humanoid but clearly not human. Their bodies were covered in segmented armor that seemed partially organic, with exposed circuitry pulsing beneath translucent sections. Their faces were hidden behind featureless helmets with glowing visors. Target acquired, the central figure stated, its voice a dissonant blend of mechanical and organic tones. Surrender the Master Morpher, human, and your termination will be swift. Naruto dropped into a combat stance, a wry smile playing across his lips. You know, I've never been good at following instructions from guys who threaten to kill me. Compliance is not necessary, the creature responded. We are authorized to extract the artifact by any means required. The 3 beings moved with synchronized precision, fanning out to surround him. Naruto's trained eye recognized their movement pattern. They were coordinating for a simultaneous attack. Last chance, he offered, channeling chakra through his system. Walk away now, and we can forget this happened. Their answer came in the form of attack. The creatures lunged forward with unnatural speed, energy weapons materializing in their hands. These weren't ninja tools or any weapons Naruto recognized, they were constructs of pure energy. Humming with destructive potential, Naruto sidestepped the first attacker, ducking under a horizontal energy blade that would have decapitated him. He countered with a chakra enhanced palm strike to the creature's midsection, expecting to send it flying. Instead, his attack met unexpected resistance. The creature skidded back only a few feet, its armor absorbing most of the impact. Chakra-based attacks, ineffective, it announced to its companions. Adjusting combat parameters. Well, that's inconvenient, Naruto muttered. He leapt backward to create distance, hands forming familiar signs. Shadow Clone Jutsu. A dozen duplicates appeared in puffs of smoke, surrounding the attackers. The creatures paused, scanning the clones with their visors. Holographic projections detected, one announced. Targeting original entity. They're not holograms, Naruto smirked as his clones attacked from all directions. The creatures fought with mechanical efficiency, their movements precise and economical. 2 clones disappeared in puffs of smoke as energy blades cut through them, but the remaining clones pressed the attack, forcing the creatures to defend multiple fronts. Naruto used the distraction to analyze their fighting style. These weren't living beings in the conventional sense, their movements lacked the subtle imperfections of organic fighters. They didn't breathe, didn't tire, and showed no pain when struck. A clone managed to land a solid hit on one creature, sending it tumbling across the stone floor. Instead of blood, sparks and an unknown fluid leaked from the damaged section. The creature rose immediately, its damaged components reconfiguring before Naruto's eyes. Self-repair capabilities, he noted grimly. This just keeps getting better. As his clones engaged the attackers, Naruto felt the device in his pocket pulse with increasing urgency. It seemed to respond to the presence of these creatures, its energy synchronizing with Hai's chakra in a way that felt almost instructive. A sudden explosion dispelled half his remaining clones. The creatures had deployed some kind of energy grenade, creating a shockwave that rippled through the valley. Stone fragments rained down as ancient columns cracked under the strain. Enough observation, the lead creature announced. Initiate extraction protocol. All three beings retracted their weapons and raised their arms in unison. Their armor reconfigured, revealing embedded cannons that began charging with ominous light. Naruto's battlefield experience told him to move, now. He leapt skyward as three energy beams converged on his previous position, vaporizing the stone altar in an explosion of superheated particles. Landing on a partially collapsed column, Naruto assessed his options. Conventional attacks weren't effective, and these beings were targeting him with increasingly destructive force. The ruins wouldn't survive much more of this conflict, and neither might he if one of those beams connected. The device pulsed again, more insistently. Acting on instinct, Naruto pulled it from his pocket. The moment it touched his hand, knowledge flowed into his mind, not in words, but in pure understanding. He knew what this was, what it could do, and how to activate it. Worth a shot, he decided as the creatures targeted his position with charging weapons. Naruto held the device aloft, its crystals glowing in response to his chakra. "It's morphin' time," he called out, the unfamiliar phrase feeling strangely right on his lips. Green light engulfed him as the creatures fired. Their energy beams scattered harmlessly against the morphing field that surrounded him. Power unlike anything he'd experienced surged through his body, transforming him at the molecular level. His clothes and gear dissolved, replaced by form-fitting armor that materialized from pure energy. When the light faded, Naruto stood transformed. Emerald armor covered his body, its design a perfect fusion of ancient power and advanced technology. A dragon-themed helmet protected his head, its visor enhancing his already formidable senses. On his chest, the emblem of a dragon shimmered with internal light. The creatures halted their attack, their postures registering what appeared to be shock. "Impossible," the leader stated. "The Green Ranger power coin was destroyed." "I don't know what you're talking about," Naruto replied, his voice slightly distorted by the helmet, "but I'm not just the Green Ranger." As if responding to his declaration, the armor began to shift. Golden patterns appeared along its surface, resembling the markings that appeared when he entered Sage mode. He could feel natural energy flowing through the armor, enhancing it beyond its original design. "I'm the Dragon Sage Ranger," Naruto announced, instinctively knowing the name of this hybrid form. The creatures exchanged what might have been concerned glances. "Unknown configuration detected," one reported. "Power levels exceeding established parameters. Retreat and report," the leader ordered. "I don't think so," Naruto responded, drawing on the power flowing through him. With speed that surprised even him, he closed the distance to the nearest creature. His fist, now encased in armor that channeled both chakra and morphing energy, connected with devastating force. The creature's armor shattered on impact, circuits and components exploding outward as it crashed into a stone column, collapsing it completely. The remaining two creatures fired desperately, energy beams cutting through the air toward him. Naruto moved with fluid grace, the armor enhancing his already exceptional reflexes. He dodged between the beams, closing distance in a heartbeat. Drawing on instinctive knowledge granted by the Morpher, he extended his hand. Dragon dagger. A weapon materialized in his grasp, an ornate dagger with a dragon head hilt. As he channeled his combined energies through it, the blade extended, transforming into a sword glowing with emerald and golden light. The creatures attempted to retreat, but Naruto was faster. With 2 precise strikes, he disabled their weapon systems, severing the connections between their armor components. Unlike his previous attacks, the dragon dagger cut through their advanced materials like paper. "Who sent you?" Naruto demanded, holding the blade to the leader's damaged visor. "What do you want with this device?" "We serve Lord Draken," the creature replied, its voice distorting as its systems failed. "The Master Morpher must be retrieved or destroyed before the prophecy can manifest." "What prophecy?" Naruto pressed. "The Dragon Sage shall unite the severed worlds," the creature recited, its voice growing fainter. "The convergence must not." A sudden surge of energy interrupted its words. All 3 creatures began to glow from within, their armor heating to incandescence. "Self-destruct sequence initiated," the leader announced. "Long live Lord Draken." Naruto leapt away as the creatures exploded simultaneously, the blast echoing throughout the valley. When the smoke cleared, nothing remained of them but scattered, melted components that rapidly dissolved into particles of light. "Talk about dedication," Naruto muttered, surveying the destruction. The transformation faded, armor dissolving as the Master Morpher returned to its normal state in his hand. Naruto felt the rush of power subside, leaving him energized but contemplative. Whatever these creatures were, they weren't from his world, and they feared what he might become with this device. A slow handclap echoed across the ruined valley. Naruto spun toward the sound, instantly alert. A figure stood atop one of the few remaining columns, silhouetted against the afternoon sun. Female, athletic, with an air of confident capability that reminded him of the kunoichi he'd fought alongside. "Not bad for your first morph," she called down, her voice carrying a hint of impressed surprise. "Most people just panic and run around screaming when the armor appears." "Who are you?" Naruto demanded, subtly shifting into a defensive stance. The woman jumped down, landing with practiced grace. As she straightened, Naruto got his first clear look at her. She wore a leather jacket over a yellow top, with torn jeans and combat boots completing her ensemble. Her brown hair fell in layers around a face that managed to be simultaneously tough and attractive, with intelligent eyes that assessed him with professional interest. "Name's Kira Ford," she replied, approaching cautiously. "And based on what I just saw, you're the dimensional anomaly I've been tracking for the past week." "Dimensional anomaly," Naruto repeated, maintaining his guard. "What does that mean?" Kira stopped a respectful distance away, hands visible to show she meant no harm. "It means you just used power from my world in a way that should be theoretically impossible." She nodded toward the Master Morpher in his hand. "That device doesn't belong in this dimension, and neither do those Ranger sentries you just destroyed." "You know what these creatures were." "Ranger sentries. Foot soldiers created by Lord Draken, an interdimensional warlord from my reality." She crossed her arms, studying him with renewed interest. "The question is, how did you manage to not only use Ranger powers but adapt them to your own energy signature?" "That's never happened before." Naruto considered her words carefully. Her knowledge of the strange creatures and the device suggested she was telling the truth. Yet years as a shinobi had taught him caution with unknown entities. "I'm Naruto Uzumaki," he offered finally. "Jonin of Konohagakure, the village hidden in the leaves. And as for how I used this power..." He glanced at the Morpher. It felt natural, like it was made for me. Kira's eyebrows rose. "Interesting. In my world, Morphers bond with specific individuals, but they don't adapt to accommodate different energy types." She approached cautiously, extending her hand. "May I?" After a moment's hesitation, Naruto handed her the device. Kira examined it with expert eyes, turning it carefully to study its components. "This is definitely the Master Morpher," she confirmed, "but it's been modified. See these conduits here?" She pointed to barely visible channels running through the device. "They're designed to filter and transform energy, allowing the Morpher to adapt to different power sources." "Like chakra," Naruto suggested. "Is that what you call it?" He energy you were using before you morphed." Naruto nodded. "Chakra is the combination of physical and spiritual energy. Every living thing in my world has it." Kira handed the Morpher back, her expression thoughtful. "That explains part of it. In my world, we have the morphing grid, a universal energy field that Power Rangers tap into. But I've never seen anyone combine it with another energy source before. These Power Rangers, Naruto inquired. They're warriors in your world. Defenders, Kira corrected with a slight smile. We protect Earth. My Earth, from those who would conquer or destroy it. I was the Yellow Ranger on the Dino Thunder team. She tapped a yellow gem embedded in a bracelet on her wrist. Still am, when duty calls. And this Lord Draken. Kira's expression darkened. A Power Ranger who went bad. Very bad. He's conquered multiple dimensions and harvests ranger powers from across the multiverse to strengthen his army. And now he's targeting my world, Naruto concluded grimly. It looks that way, Kira agreed. The question is why? What's special about this dimension that would attract his attention? Before Naruto could respond, a familiar voice called his name. Both turned to see a young woman with pale lavender eyes running toward them, long indigo hair streaming behind her. Hinata, Naruto greeted warmly as she approached. Hinata Hyuga came to a stop beside them. Her breath slightly quickened from her run. Her traditional shinobi attire was dusty from travel, suggesting she'd come a long distance at speed. Despite her rushed arrival, he maintained the graceful composure that characterized her movements. Naruto-kun, she began, her voice soft but urgent, I've been looking everywhere for you. There's something strange happening throughout the land of fire. The Hokage has called an emergency meeting of all available Jonin. Strange how? Naruto questioned, immediately alert. Hinata's expression grew troubled, rifts appearing in midair, visible only to the Byakugan. They're like tears in reality itself. She turned to Kira, noticing her for the first time. Who is Kira Ford? Naruto introduced. She's from another dimension, apparently. Kira, this is Hinata Hyuga, one of our village's strongest shinobi and my. He paused, searching for the right word, close friend. If Hinata noticed his hesitation, she didn't show it. She bowed politely to Kira. Another dimension. Then you might know about these rifts. Dimensional breaches, Kira confirmed, her expression grave. It's already starting. Draken is preparing to invade your world. Hinata's eyes widened. Invasion. But why target our world specifically? Kira glanced at the Master Morpher in Naruto's hand, then at Naruto himself. I have a theory, but I need more information. She turned to Hinata. You said your eyes can see these rifts. Hinata nodded. The Byakugan allows me to see chakra networks and, apparently, these dimensional disturbances. That's incredibly useful, Kira remarked. In my world, we need specialized equipment to detect interdimensional breaches. These rifts, Naruto asked, how many are there? Dozens, Hinata replied, and more appearing every hour. They're concentrated around major chakra points, sacred sites, tailed beast locations, places with historical significance. Naruto and Kira exchanged concerned glances. He's mapping your world's power sources, Kira explained. Standard Draken tactics before a full-scale invasion. Then we need to move quickly, Naruto decided. He turned to Hinata. Tell the Hokage I've made contact with an ally from another dimension who understands the threat. We'll follow soon. Hinata nodded, but hesitated before leaving. Naruto-kun, what happened to you? Your chakra signature, it's different. Stronger, but altered somehow. Naruto raised the Master Morpher. I found this. Or maybe it found me. It's a power source from Kira's world that somehow works with our chakra. Hinata activated her Byakugan, veins bulging around her eyes as she examined the device. I've never seen anything like it. The energy it contains doesn't flow like chakra, it pulses, like a heartbeat. The morphing grid, Kira explained. It's responding to his chakra, creating a hybrid energy signature. Hinata deactivated her Byakugan, looking troubled. Be careful, Naruto-kun. Unknown power sources can be unpredictable. I will, he promised. Now go. We need the village prepared. With a final concerned glance, Hinata departed, leaping with shinobi speed toward Konoha. Once she was gone, Kira turned to Naruto. So, close friend, huh? Naruto rubbed the back of his neck, a habit from his younger days that occasionally resurfaced in uncomfortable moments. It's complicated. It always is, Kira replied with knowing sympathy. Listen, before we go to your village, there's something you should know about the Master Morpher. I'm listening. In my world, it was created for Tommy Oliver, the original Green Ranger and one of the greatest Rangers who ever lived. It allowed him to access all his past Ranger powers. She pointed to the device. But this version has been modified. The fact that it's responding to your chakra and creating a completely new ranger form suggests it was specifically designed for cross-dimensional use. You think someone made this for me specifically? Naruto asked incredulously. I think someone knew a person like you would be needed, Kira clarified. Someone with the ability to bridge our worlds and combine their powers. Naruto examined the Morpher with renewed interest. The creature mentioned a prophecy about the dragon sage uniting severed worlds. Which means Draken fears what you might become, Kira concluded. That's why he sent ranger sentries to retrieve or destroy the Morpher before you could bond with it. Too late for that, Naruto noted with a grim smile. Way too late, Kira agreed. Based on what I saw, you've already achieved a level of integration with the grid that took our rangers years to master. The question is, what happens now that your chakra and the morphing grid have started merging? As if in response to her question, the ground beneath them trembled. A low rumbling filled the valley as the ancient stones shifted and realigned. The damaged altar at the center began to glow, its fragmented pieces pulling back together. What's happening? Naruto asked, dropping into a defensive stance. I don't know, Kira admitted, backing away from the reconstructing altar. But whatever it is, I don't think we want to be here when it completes. The rumbling intensified as more ruins began to repair themselves, stones floating into position with impossible precision. The entire valley seemed to be awakening, responding to the activation of the Master Morpher. Time to go, Naruto decided. He created a shadow clone with a casual hand sign. My clone will monitor the situation here and report back. Kira stared at the perfect duplicate. That's handy. Can all shinobi do that? Shadow clone jutsu is a specialty of mine, Naruto explained with a touch of pride. Now, hold on, we're taking the express route to Konoha. Before Kira could question his meaning, Naruto placed a hand on her shoulder. In a flash of yellow light, they disappeared, leaving only the clone to witness the valley's continuing transformation. They reappeared instantaneously atop the Hokage mountain, overlooking the village hidden in the leaves. Kira stumbled slightly from the sudden translocation, steadying herself against Naruto's shoulder. What the hell was that? She demanded, looking around in disorientation. Flying Thunder God technique, Naruto explained. Instantaneous teleportation to marked locations. I learned it from my father's scrolls. You could have warned me, Kira muttered, regaining her composure. Sorry, Naruto offered with an apologetic smile. I forget not everyone's used to shinobi transportation methods. Kira took in the village spread below them, a blend of traditional architecture and modern innovations, surrounded by lush forests and protected by the mountain they stood upon. Carved into the mountainside were the faces of 7 leaders, the most recent being a woman with a small rhombus mark on her forehead. So this is your home, she remarked. It's beautiful. Konohagakure, Naruto confirmed with evident pride. The village hidden in the leaves, one of the 5 great shinobi nations. And these faces? Kira asked, gesturing to the monumental carvings. The Hokage, our leaders. The greatest shinobi of their generations. His gaze lingered on the 4th face. My father was the 4th Hokage. And someday, my face will be up there too. Kira noted the conviction in his voice. You sound pretty certain about that. It's been my goal since I was a kid, Naruto replied with a shrug. I've never been good at giving up on my dreams. Before their conversation could continue, another figure appeared beside them in a swirl of leaves. A masked man with gravity-defying silver hair, reading a small Oran GE book despite the obvious tension of the situation. Kakashi-sensei, Naruto greeted the newcomer. Naruto, the man replied, his visible eye crinkling in what might have been a smile beneath his mask. I see you've brought a guest. One from rather far away, if Hinata's report is accurate. This is Kira Ford, Naruto introduced. She's a Power Ranger from another dimension. Kira, this is Kakashi Hatake, the 6th Hokage and my former teacher. Kakashi pocketed his book and offered a casual wave. Another dimension, well, after aliens and moon people, I suppose interdimensional visitors were inevitable. Kira blinked at his nonchalance. Your leader seems relaxed about potential invasions. Oh, don't let the casual demeanor fool you, Naruto advised with a knowing smile. Quote, Kakashi-sensei is already calculating 15 different countermeasures while appearing completely disinterested. 16, actually, Kakashi corrected mildly. But who's counting? Now, perhaps you could explain these rifts Hinata reported, and why you're carrying an unknown energy source that's altering your chakra signature. Naruto held up the Master Morpher. It's called the Master Morpher. It allows me to transform into something called a Power Ranger, a warrior from Kira's dimension. Interesting, Kakashi mused, studying the device without touching it. And I assume these dimensional rifts Hinata detected are related. They're advanced scouts for an invasion, Kira explained. Lord Draken, a warlord from my dimension, is targeting your world. The rifts are how his forces will enter. I see. Kakashi's relaxed posture shifted subtly, his attention fully engaged despite his casual tone. And why would this Draken character be interested in our world specifically? We have no problems without adding interdimensional invasions to the list. Naruto and Kira exchanged glances. We think it has something to do with this, Naruto said, indicating the Morpher. It was ignited to combine the power of Kira's world with our chakra. Draken sent troops to destroy it before I could find it. Too late for that, Kakashi noted dryly. I assume you've already used this device. He has, Kira confirmed. And that's what's strange. The Master Morpher shouldn't be compatible with your world's energy, but Naruto was able to create an entirely new Ranger form, something that's never happened before. The Dragon Sage Ranger, Naruto added. Catchy, Kakashi remarked. Well, this certainly complicates things. The council is meeting now to discuss the rifts. Your perspective would be valuable, Ms. Ford. Just Kira, she corrected. And I'll help however I can. Draken is a threat to all dimensions, not just mine. Excellent. Kakashi smiled again. Then let's not keep them waiting. The political leadership gets testy when the world is ending and we're late to meetings. As they turned to descend from the mountain, Naruto felt the Master Morpher pulse again. He looked out over his village, acutely aware that everything he cherished was now threatened by forces beyond their understanding. Yet alongside that concern was a curious sense of anticipation. For years after the war, he had trained and grown, waiting for the next great challenge that would test his resolve and abilities. Now that challenge had arrived, not from within their world, but from dimensions beyond. Whatever came next would require everything he had learned, and more. Ready? Kira asked, noticing his momentary introspection. Naruto nodded, determination settling over his features. I was born ready. As they made their way toward the Hokage Tower, neither noticed the subtle distortion in the air above the mountain, another rift forming, larger than those before it. Within its swirling depths, a figure watched with calculated interest, its features obscured by shadow and distance. So, the observer murmured, voice carrying across dimensions, the Dragon Sage emerges at last. The convergence begins. The rift collapsed silently, leaving no trace of the Watcher's presence, only the promise of conflicts yet to come. In the council chambers beneath the Hokage Tower, gathered shinobi listened intently as Hinata described the dimensional disturbances her Byakugan had detected. Maps spread across the central table showed marked locations of known rifts, creating a pattern that appeared random at first glance but revealed strategic positioning upon closer inspection. They're targeting our major chakra nexus points, Shikamaru Nara observed, his sharp mind quickly identifying the pattern. Troublesome. Not just chakra points, Hinata clarified, her soft voice carrying natural authority after years of leadership experience. They're specifically cons. NTRATED around historical sites associated with the Sage of Six Paths and locations where tailed beasts have manifested. The assembled Jonin exchanged concerned glances. Since the Fourth Great Ninja War, the balance of power maintained by the five great nations had been relatively stable. The prospect of an unknown threat targeting their world's most potent energy sources threatened that hard-won peace. The chamber doors opened, admitting Kakashi, Naruto, and Kira. Conversation ceased as attention shifted to the newcomers, particularly the unfamiliar woman in distinctly non-shinobi attire. Ladies and gentlemen, Kakashi announced with characteristic understatement, allow me to introduce Kira Ford, a warrior from the dimension responsible for our current situation. Kira stepped forward, unfazed by the scrutiny of the elite shinobi. Years as a ranger had accustomed her to high-pressure situations and skeptical audiences. I know this is difficult to accept, she began, but your world is being targeted by an interdimensional warlord named Lord Draken. The rifts your sensors have detected are advanced mapping for a full-scale invasion. And we should believe this because? Questioned Kaharu Utatane, one of the village elders. Before Kira could respond, Naruto placed the Master Morpher on the central table. The device pulsed with soft light, its energy signature causing several sensory-type shinobi to stiffen in recognition. Because of already encountered Draken's forces, Naruto stated. They attacked me when I found this device. What is it? Shikamaru asked, leaning forward with analytical interest. It's called the Master Morpher, Kira explained. In my world, similar devices allow Power Rangers to transform and access the morphing grid, a univers. Al energy field that grants us abilities to fight against those who threaten our dimension. And now this Draken wants to invade our dimension for this energy source. Sakura Haruno inquired, her ethical expertise making her particularly sensitive to discussions of unknown energy types. Not exactly, Kira clarified. Based on what we've seen, Draken is interested in your world's chakra, specifically how it interacts with the morphing grid. The Master Morpher was designed to bridge our worlds, Naruto added. When I used it, it created a new ranger form that combines both energies. To demonstrate, he retrieved the Morpher from the table. It's morphin time. Emerald light filled the chamber as Naruto transformed. The assembled shinobi shielded their eyes from the brief flash, many drawing weapons instinctively. When the light faded, Naruto stood before them in the armor of the Dragon Sage Ranger, its green surface now detailed with gold patterns reminiscent of Sage Mode markings. This is what Draken fears, Kira explained as the council members stared in astonishment. The prophecy of the Dragon Sage who can unite severed worlds. What prophecy? Kakashi inquired, his casual demeanor giving way to sharp focus. We don't know the details yet, Naruto admitted as the transformation faded, armor dissolving back into the Morpher. But Draken's soldiers mentioned it before they self-destructed. Self-destructed? Sakura questioned with professional concern. They're not fully human, Kira explained. Ranger sentries are cyborg soldiers created from corrupted morphing energy. They're programmed to eliminate all evidence if they fail their mission. The implications of this technology visibly disturbed the council. While the shinobi world had advanced considerably in recent years, the concept of cybernetic warriors was beyond their current science. If these are merely foot soldiers, Shikamaru noted with tactical acumen, what can we expect from their leadership? Lord Draken was once a Power Ranger himself, Kira answered grimly. He possesses abilities similar to what you just saw in Naruto, but corrupted and enhanced through years of dimensional conquest. He commands an army of ranger sentries and has generals who wield stolen ranger powers. How do we fight such enemies? Hinata asked, practical despite her evident concern. The same way you'd fight any powerful opponent, Naruto responded confidently. With strategy, teamwork, and our own unique abilities. Naruto's right, Kira affirmed. Draken's forces are formidable, they've never encountered chakra-based fighters before. Your techniques will be as foreign to them as their technology is to you. And we have something they don't expect, Naruto added, raising the Master Morpher. A weapon designed to combine both worlds' powers. The council fell into strategic discussion, with Shikamaru taking the lead in organizing reconnaissance and defense planning. As the meeting progressed, Sakura approached Naruto and Kira, her medical curiosity evident. This transformation, she began, addressing Naruto, how does it affect your chakra network? It doesn't replace my chakra, Naruto explained. It enhances it, channels it differently. I can still use my regular techniques, but they're amplified by this, morphing grid, energy. Fascinating, Sakura murmured. I'd like to examine you more thoroughly when there's time. If we understand how these energies interact, we might develop countermeasures against Draken's weapons. Good thinking, Kira approved. In my world, we have scientists who specialize in morphing grid technology. If we could somehow establish communication between our dimensions, their knowledge would be invaluable. Communication between dimensions, Naruto mused. Maybe there's a way. The ruins where I found the Morpher seemed to be some kind of dimensional nexus point. Ruins? Sakura questioned. Ancient structures in a hidden valley. Naruto explained. They started regenerating after I used the Morpher. I left a shadow clone to monitor them, he added. It should. Naruto suddenly stiffened, eyes widen. Inga's information flooded his consciousness. The shadow clone he'd left at the ruins had just dispelled, transferring its experiences directly to his mind. Naruto. Sakura prompted with concern. What is it? The ruins, he replied. His voice tense with urgency. They've completed their transformation. They're not ruins anymore, they're some kind of command center. And there's someone there. Someone. Kira pressed. Draken. Naruto shook his head. I don't think so. The clone couldn't get close enough to identify them, but they were accessing the central console. And they were wearing pink. Kira's expression shifted to one of shocked recognition. Pink. Like a pink ranger. I don't know, Naruto admitted. The clone dispelled when energy surges started destabilizing the area. We need to get back there. Kira insisted. Now. Naruto nodded, turning to Kakashi. Hokage-sama, request permission to investigate with Kira. Granted, Kakashi replied without hesitation. Kei Hinata with you, her Byakugan will be useful. Sakura, go as medical support. Shikamaru will coordinate defense preparations here. The four gathered quickly as the council continued strategic planning. Naruto placed a hand on each of his companions. Brace yourselves, he warned. Flying Thunder God isn't the gentlest form of travel for first-timers. In a flash of yellow light, they vanished from the council chamber. Leaving the village leadership to prepare for an interdimensional war none of them could have anticipated. They materialized at the edge of the valley, which had transformed dramatically in their absence. Where ancient ruins had stood in dilapidated condition, a sleek facility now rose from the earth. Its architecture blended organic elements with advanced technology, crystal spires rising alongside metallic domes that pulsed with internal light. Whoa, Naruto breathed, taking in the transformed landscape. It can't be, Kira whispered, recognition and disbelief warring in her expression. This looks like a command center, the original Power Rangers headquarters. But different, she added, studying the unique elements. It's been adapted somehow, integrate. With aspects that must be from your world. Hinata activated her Byakugan, scanning the structure. The entire facility is channeling energy, both familiar chakra patterns and something else. Something that pulses rather than flows. The morphing grid, Kira confirmed. This place is a nexus point between our dimensions. And someone's inside, Hinata continued, focusing on a central chamber. A single individual at what appears to be a control console. Female, based on body structure. And she's wearing. Hinata paused, adjusting her Byakugan's focus. A pink uniform of some kind. Pink time force, Kira murmured. It has to be. You know her, Naruto questioned. If it's who I think it is, yes. Kira stepped forward decisively. Jen Scott's, Pink Time Force Ranger. She's from the future in my dimension and has technology that allows her to monitor temporal anomalies. Is she an ally? Sakura asked, medical instincts already assessing potential threat levels. Absolutely, Kira affirmed. Time Force Rangers are among the most respected in Ranger history. If Jen's here, it means the dimensional situation is even more serious than I thought. Then let's not keep her waiting, Naruto decided, leading the way toward the transformed command center. As they approached, doors materialized in the previously solid wall, sliding open with a soft hydraulic hiss. The interior illuminated automatically, revealing corridors that seemed to blend technological sophistication with natural elements. Crystal formations grew alongside computer terminals, while waterfall-like energy curtains separated different sections. It's like it was designed to merge both our worlds, Sakura observed, her scientific mind cataloging the unique architecture. I think it was, Kira agreed. This place didn't just repair itself, it evolved to serve a specific purpose. They followed the main corridor to its terminus, entering a vast circular chamber dominated by a central console. Surrounding the console were viewing screens showing various locations, some from the shinobi world, others from places Naruto didn't recognize. Standing at the controls, her back to them, was a woman in a distinctive pink and white uniform. Took you long enough, she remarked without turning. I've been monitoring the temporal convergence points for 3 days, waiting for someone to activate the Master Morpher. She turned to face them, revealing an attractive woman with short brown hair and determined features. Her uniform bore insignia Naruto didn't recognize, and at her wrist was a devik that resembled a highly advanced chronometer. Jen. Hira stepped forward, evident relief in her voice. The woman's professional demeanor softened slightly. Hira Ford. Yellow Dino Thunder. I should have known you'd find your way here. Quote, what are you doing here? Hira asked. Last I heard, Time Force was monitoring the aftermath of the shattered grid incident. This is the aftermath, Jen replied grimly. She gestured to the screens surrounding them. When Draken breached the morphing grid, he created fractures that extended beyond our dimension. Some of those fractures intersected with this world, creating a unique convergence of energies. Her gaze shifted to Naruto, studying him with professional assessment. And you must be Naruto Uzumaki. The Dragon Sage. That's what they keep calling me, Naruto confirmed. Though I'm still not clear on what it means. It means you're the focal point of a multiversal convergence that could either heal the fractured dimensions or destroy them completely. Jen stated matter-of-factly. No pressure. Well, when you put it that way, Naruto replied with dry humor, it sounds like just another Tuesday. Jen's serious expression cracked slightly, a hint of amusement showing through her professional facade. Time Force predicted a 97.8% probability that you'd respond to crisis with inappropriate humor. Nice to see the temporal algorithms are still accurate. You've been expecting me, Naruto questioned, surprised. Not you specifically, Jen clarified. But someone from this dimension who could integrate with the Master Morpher. The prophecy was quite specific about the Dragon Sage arising from a world where energy flows from within rather than being drawn from an external grid. That's chakra, Sakura explained. Our life force energy. Exactly. Jen nodded. And that's what makes your dimension so valuable to Draken. Chakra is self-regenerating and individually controlled. If he could harness it alongside corrupted grid power, he'd be unstoppable, Hira finished, understanding dawning on her face. That's why he's targeting this world specifically. And why the Master Morpher was hidden here, Jen confirmed. It was designed to create a counterbalance, a warrior who could harness both energies in their pure forms. By whom? Hinata asked, speaking for the first time since entering the chamber. Who created this device and hid it in our world? Jen's expression became guarded. That's complicated, and not immediately relevant to the current crisis. Naruto sensed her evasion but chose not to press. There would be time for full explanations later, assuming they survived what was coming. So what happens now? He asked instead. How do we stop Draken from invading? We can't stop the invasion, Jen stated bluntly. It's already begun. What we can do is prepare for it, locate his entry points, and establish a defensive strategy. She activated a holographic display at the center of the console. A three-dimensional map of the shinobi world materialized, with glowing points marking the locations of dimensional rifts. Each of these represents a potential insertion point for Draken's forces, Jen explained. Some are merely scouts, others are staging areas for larger troop deployments. There are hundreds, Sakura noted with growing concern. And more forming every hour, Jen confirmed. But they're not random. There's a pattern to the deployment. Naruto studied the map, shinobi tactical training kicking in. They're forming a perimeter around major population centers. Standard invasion procedure. Isolate potential resistance points before the main assault. Correct. Jen nodded approvingly. Draken's military background is evident in his strategy. He's systematically cutting off escape routes and communication lines. How long do we have? Hinata asked. Practical as always. Based on the current rate of rift formation, Jen calculated, the perimeter will be complete in approximately 72 hours. After that, the main invasion force will begin transit. 3 days, Naruto summarized. That's our window to prepare. And to train, Hira added, looking pointedly at the Master Morpher in Naruto's hand. You need to master that device's capabilities before Draken's elite forces arrive. I can help with that, Jen offered. The Mon Center's training facilities are designed for this purpose. What about our village? Hinata questioned. We need to coordinate defenses across all shinobi nations. I've already established communication links with your Hokage's office, Jen informed them, gesturing to one of the monitors showing Kakashi at his desk. The command center can serve as our tactical headquarters while you're Traditional leadership maintains political control. Efficient, Sakura remarked appreciatively. Time Force doesn't believe in wasting minutes, Gen replied with professional pride. Naruto stepped forward, determination evident in his stance. Then let's get started. If I've got 3 days to become this Dragon Sage Ranger that everyone's talking about, we don't have time to waste. Gen nodded, activating a secondary console. A portion of the chamber wall retracted, revealing a training area that combined elements of a dojo with advanced technological components. This facility was designed specifically to help you integrate chakra with the morphing grid, she explained. It will simulate combat scenarios against ranger sentries and other threats you're likely to encounter. Naruto handed the master morpher to Kira. Hold this for a minute. As she took the device, Naruto formed a familiar hand sign. Shadow Clone Jutsu. A dozen perfect duplicates appeared in puffs of smoke, each an exact copy of the original. Whoa, Gen remarked, genuine surprise breaking through her professional demeanor. The reports mentioned replication abilities, but seeing it in person is impressive, Kira finished for her. Having already witnessed the technique, my clones can train simultaneously, each gaining different aspects of experience that transfer back to me when they dispel, Naruto explained. It accelerates learning exponentially. That's actually brilliant, Gen acknowledged, quickly adapting to the tactical advantage this presented. We can run multiple training scenarios concurrently, each focusing on different aspects of the Master Morpher's capabilities. Meanwhile, Sakura interjected, I'd like to establish a medical facility here. If this place is going to serve as our base of operations, we'll need healing capabilities compatible with both our technologies. The Eastern Chamber is configured for medical applications, Gen directed. It's adaptive. It should respond to your specific requirements as you define them. I'll assist Sakura, Hinata volunteered. My Byakugan can help identify how the grid energy affects our chakra systems. Perfect, Naruto approved. Kira, would you mind working with some of my clones on Ranger basics? I need to understand how traditional Rangers operate if I'm going to adapt those techniques. Absolutely, Kira agreed, tossing the morpher back to him. Ranger boot camp starts now. As the group dispersed to their assigned tasks, Naruto approached the main console where Gen was configuring the training programs. You know more than you're saying, he observed quietly, blue eyes studying her with unexpected perception. Gen paused, meeting his gaze directly. Yes, why the secrecy? Temporal protocol, she replied after a moment's consideration. Some information, if revealed prematurely, can alter critical decision points. You're from the future, Naruto reasoned. You already know how this plays out. I know one potential timeline, Gen corrected carefully. But time is fluid, especially during dimensional convergence events. Your choices, particularly in the next 3 days, will determine whether that timeline manifests. Naruto considered this, respect growing for the Time Force Ranger's evident professionalism. Fair enough, but I work best with teammates I can trust. If there's anything I need to know that won't fracture your timeline, anything that could help us survive what's coming, I'm asking you to share it. Gen studied him silently for a long moment, mocking complex calculations behind her composed expression. Finally, she nodded once, decision made. The Master Morpher was created by a combined effort between Time Force and what your people would call sages from your world. She revealed, it's designed to create balance between our dimensions, which began separating after a cataclysmic event in the distant past. What event? The details are lost to history. But both our mythologies speak of a time when all worlds were one, Gen explained. Your legends call it the era of the Sage of Six Paths. Ours refer to it as the Age of Zordon. So, nothing happened that shattered reality into separate dimensions, each developing along its own evolutionary path. And now they're coming back together, Naruto concluded. But not naturally. Exactly. Draken's actions have accelerated a process that should have taken millennia, creating instabilities that threaten all realities. She gestured to the monitors showing rifts spreading across the shinobi world. These aren't just invasion points, they're symptoms of dimensional breakdown. So defeating Draken isn't enough, Naruto realized. We have to stabilize the dimensions somehow. That's where the Dragon Sage comes in. Gen confirmed. The Master Morpher isn't just a weapon, it's a key. When fully activated by someone who can channel both energies, it can help restore the natural boundaries between dimensions. No pressure, Naruto echoed her earlier comment with a wry smile. None whatsoever, Jen replied, the hint of a smile softening her professional demeanor. Now, shall we begin your training? The fate of multiple dimensions is at stake, after all. When isn't it? Naruto quipped, following her toward the training area where his clones already awaited instruction. As the command center hummed with activity, none of them noticed a subtle distortion in one of the monitoring screens, a shadow moving independently of its source, watching and waiting as the deaf Enders prepared for a war across dimensions. The convergence had begun, and with it, destinies long prophesied would finally unfold. Chapter 1 End Chapter 2, Timelines Converging. The command Sente. R thrummed with activity as dawn broke over the land of fire. Crystalline terminals pulsed with data streams while holographic displays mapped dimensional anomalies spreading across the shinobi world. In the central chamber, Naruto sat cross-legged on a raised platform, the master morpher hovering inches above his upturned palms. 48 hours of intensive training had yielded impressive results. 20 shadow clones currently occupied various simulation chambers, each mastering different aspects of the morpher's capabilities. The original Naruto focused on the device's core functionality, the bridge between chakra and the morphing grid. Your energy synchronization has improved by 38%, Jen noted, monitoring readings from a nearby console. The Time Force officer hadn't left the command center since their arrival. Her disciplined nature evident in every precise movement. But you're still forcing the connection rather than allowing the energies to flow naturally. Chakra doesn't just flow, it's directed. Naruto explained, eyes remaining closed in concentration. 15 years of ninja training isn't easy to unlearn. You don't need to unlearn it, Kira countered, circling the platform with analytical eyes. The Yellow Ranger had proven to be a demanding instructor, her musician's ear attuned to the subtle harmonics of power. You need to find the counterpoint between techniques. Think of it like music, two different melodies that create harmony when played together. Naruto's brow furrowed. Not really a music guy. Then think of it like ramen ingredients, Sakura suggested as she entered. Carrying diagnostic equipment developed during their 2-day crash course in interdimensional medicine. Each element has its own flavor, but they create something new when combined. Now you're speaking my language, Naruto grinned, his concentration momentarily broken. The morpher dropped into his hands as his eyes opened, their blue depths reflecting the emerald light pulsing from the device. Unlike his younger years, the Naruto who sat before them carried himself with the quiet confidence of a veteran shinobi. His whisker-marked face had matured, jawline more defined and eyes holding depths of experience that belied his 19 years. How's Hinata's research coming? He asked, pocketing the morpher and stretching muscles stiff from hours of meditation. Promising, Sakura replied, her practical efficiency evident in both movement and speech. Her Byakugan can track how grid energy interfaces with our chakra networks. We're developing a classification system for the different interaction types. That's my girl, Naruto smiled with evident pride. Yes, she is quite remarkable, Jen observed, her analytical gaze missing nothing of the complex relationship dynamics at play. Her visual abilities provide insights our sensors can't capture. A soft chime interrupted their conversation as one of the monitoring stations activated. A holographic display materialized, showing a map of Angel Grove, a city from Kira's dimension that none of the shinobi had visited. Another breach, Jen announced, her fingers dancing across the controls with practiced precision. Larger than previous signatures, located in downtown Angel Grove, near the old command center ruins. That's not coincidental, Kira noted grimly. Angel Grove sits on a nexus of morphing grid energy. If Draken's forces establish a foothold there, they could use it to expand their invasion of our world, Naruto finished, immediately grasping the strategic implications. We need to intercept them. Jen questioned, arching an eyebrow. Interdimensional travel isn't like stepping between villages, Naruto. The physiological stress alone should be manageable given his unique energy signature. Sakura interrupted, medical expertise evident in her assessment. His Uzumaki vitality combined with the Nine Tails regenerative properties makes him the ideal candidate for cross-dimensional transit. And he won't be alone, Kira added, unconsciously moving to stand beside Naruto in a protective gesture that spoke volumes about their rapidly developing bond. I'll guide him through Angel Grove. 2 rangers are better than 1. Jen's expression remained professionally skeptical, but she nodded after calculating variables invisible to the others. Very well. The command center can establish a dimensional corridor using the Master Morpher as an anchor point. But be warned, this will alert Draken to your movements. Good. Naruto responded with characteristic determination. I want him to know we're coming. That's a dangerous attitude when facing an opponent who's conquered multiple dimensions, Jen cautioned. Maybe. Naruto conceded with a confidence that wasn't quite arrogance. But in my experience, the best way to understand an enemy is to make them react. Draken's been 3 steps ahead since this began. Time to disrupt his rhythm. Jen studied him thoughtfully before the hint of an approving smile touched her lips. Time Force tactical analysis suggests a 73% probability of mission success with this approach. Unconventional, but potentially effective. That's Naruto, Sakura said with fond exasperation. Defying probability since age 12. I'll inform Kakashi about our mission, Naruto decided, creating a shadow clone with a casual hand sign. The duplicate nodded and disappeared in a flash of yellow light, the Flying Thunder God technique deployed with effortless mastery. I still can't get used to that, Kira remarked, shaking her head in appreciation. Instantaneous teleportation without technology, says the woman who transforms into a yellow ranger with dinosaur powers, Naruto countered with a playful smirk. Touché, Kira conceded, matching his expression with one of her own. Sakura observed their exchange with thoughtful interest, her perceptive gaze noting the easy chemistry developing between the dimensional visitors. Rather than comment, she turned to practical matters with medical efficiency. You'll need these, she stated, handing each of them a small pill. I've synthesized a stabilization compound that should help your cellular structure adapt to interdimensional transit. Should? Kira questioned, examining the yellow capsule skeptically. 95% certainty, Sakura replied with professional confidence. The remaining 5% accounts for the possibility of spontaneous molecular discorporation. That sounds bad, Naruto noted dryly. Extremely, Sakura confirmed with clinical detachment. But highly unlikely given your enhanced healing capabilities. Kira's Dino Gem should provide similar protection. Your bedside manner needs work, Doc, Kira muttered, but swallowed the pill regardless. Naruto followed suit, grimacing at the bitter taste. Couldn't have added flavoring, medicinal efficiency over palatability, Sakura responded with the hint of a sadistic smile. That reminded Naruto of their genin days. The molecular stabilizers work better without sugar compounds. The dimensional corridor will be ready in 5 minutes, Gen announced, directing their attention to the central platform which was reconfiguring itself into what appeared to be a teleportation pad. I've programmed coordinates for the old command center ruins. It's remote enough to avoid Ivalian exposure while providing tactical advantages due to familiar terrain. For you, maybe, Naruto pointed out. I've never been to your dimension. That's why I'm coming along, Kira reminded him. Retrieving her Dino Morpher from a nearby console. The yellow device resembled a stylized bracelet with a dinosaur motif, less elaborate than the Master Morpher but radiating its own distinct power signature. Consider me your interdimensional tour guide. As the platform completed its transformation, a low hum filled the chamber. Energy conduits embedded in the floor began to glow with increasing intensity. Channeling power toward the teleportation pad, holographic displays showed energy spikes as the dimensional barrier thinned at the targeted coordinates. Remember, Gen instructed as they took positions on the platform. This isn't just reconnaissance. Your presence in Angel Grove will establish a stronger connection between our dimensions, potentially accelerating the convergence process. Which means Draken will respond, Naruto noted, understanding the implications. Aggressively, Gen confirmed. Time Force projections indicate a 91% probability that he'll dispatch light units rather than standard Ranger sentries. Be prepared for opponents with actual Ranger powers, corrupted but formidable. Nothing we can't handle, Naruto assured her, his confidence born of countless battles rather than bravado. Your optimism is either your greatest strength or a significant tactical liability, Gen observed with professional candor. Time will tell which. It's both, Sakura interjected with the insight of someone who had fought alongside Naruto for years. His impossible optimism has saved our world more than once. Then let's hope it works on my world too, Kira remarked. A hint of vulnerability showing through her composed exterior. Naruto noticed her momentary uncertainty and did something that surprised even himself. He reached out and squeezed her hand reassuringly. Hey, we've got this. Dragon Sage Ranger and Yellow Dino Thunder, remember? Draken won't know what hit him. Kira's expression shifted from surprise to determination, her fingers i.e. fly tightening around his before withdrawing with professional composure. You're right, let's show this interdimensional warlord what happens when he messes with our worlds. Dimensional corridor stabilizing, Jen announced, interrupting the moment with tactical timing. Transit window opening in 3, 2, 1. The command center's lights dimmed as power redirected to the teleportation platform. A swirling vortex of energy formed above Naruto and Kira, its colors shifting between emerald green and vibrant yellow, the respective colors of their ranger powers merging in visual representation of their alliance. See you on the other side, Naruto called to Sakura and Jen as the vortex descended. Light enveloped them, molecules separating and reconstituting along quantum pathways that bridged realities. Naruto experienced a sensation unlike any teleportation jutsu. His consciousness stretched across dimensional barriers, momentarily perceiving multiple realities simultaneously. Then, with jarring suddenness, solid ground materialized beneath their feet. The dimensional corridor collapsed behind them, leaving them standing atop a desert plateau overlooking a sprawling city in the distance. Welcome to Angel Grove, Kira announced, her voice carrying a hint of nostalgia despite the grave circumstances of their visit. Naruto took a moment to absorb his surroundings, senses calibrating to the subtle differences of this new dimension. The air felt lighter somehow, lacking the natural chakra infusion of his world. The sky above was a different shade of blue, imperceptible to most, but distinct to his sage-enhanced vision. It's different, he observed, struggling to articulate the alien sensations bombarding his awareness. Like everything's vibrating at another frequency. Good description. Kira nodded appreciatively. Most interdimensional travelers don't notice the differences so quickly. Your sage abilities must make you more sensitive to the dimensional variances. Speaking of which, Naruto frowned, dropping into a meditative posture. I can't sense natural energy the way I can at home. It's here, but scattered, unstructured. The Morph grid is our dimension's equivalent to your natural energy, Kira explained, surveying the landscape with alert eyes. But it doesn't operate the same way. Rangers access it through our morphers rather than through internal manipulation. That explains the difference, Naruto murmured, rising from his crouch with fluid grace. I'll need to adapt my techniques. He turned toward the city in the distance, studying its skyline with tactical assessment. Angel Grove presented a stark contrast to the hidden villages of his world, a sprawling urban center with structures of glass and steel rising from an organized grid pattern. No walls protected its boundaries, no strategic choke points restricted access, a city designed for commerce and civilian life rather than defensive positioning. Your cities are so exposed, he noted with professional concern. Different world, different threats, Kira shrugged. Until Rangers appeared, our greatest dangers were natural disasters and human conflicts. Not ninja invasions or tailed beasts. Fair point, Naruto conceded. So where are these command center ruins Jen mentioned? Kira gestured to the remains of a structure behind them, a Kular foundation partially buried by desert sand, with fragmented columns rising like broken teeth against the horizon. Though mostly collapsed, the ruins emanated a subtle energy that resonated with the master morpher in Naruto's pocket. This was Zordon's original command center, Kira explained, her voice taking on a respectful tone that conveyed the site's significance. The first Power Rangers were chosen here, received their powers here. It's sacred ground for anyone who carries the legacy. Naruto approached the ruins with appropriate reverence, sensing the history embedded in the weathered stones. Your Zordon sounds similar to our Sage of Six Paths, a founding figure who established the power systems future generations would inherit. That's surprisingly accurate, Kira acknowledged, impressed by the insight. The parallel hadn't occurred to me before. Maybe they were connected, Naruto suggested, crouching to examine markings on a fallen column. If our dimensions were once united as Jen suggested. His observation was interrupted by a sharp change in atmospheric pressure. Both Rangers tensed as reality itself seemed to warp 20 yards ahead of them. Space folded inward, creating a dimensional breach that expanded with surgical precision, not the chaotic rifts they had encountered previously, but a controlled opening between worlds. That's not a natural breach, Kira warned. Falling into a defensive stance. Someone's cutting through deliberately. Naruto stood, the Master Morpher already in his hand. Draken, maybe, Kira replied grimly. Or one of his commanders. Stay ready. The breach stabilized, forming an oval portal approximately 8 feet tall. Through its shimmering surface stepped a figure in distinctive pink and white armor, unmistakably Ranger technology. But with design elements neither recognized. Hold, the figure commanded, raising a weapon that resembled a futuristic pistol. Temporal security. Identify yourselves immediately. Kira's defensive posture instantly relaxed. Jen, what are you doing here? We just left you at the command center in Naruto's dimension. The armored figure hesitated, weapon remaining trained on them. Kira Ford, Yellow Dino Thunder. The helmet turned slightly toward Naruto. And who's this? He's not a registered ranger. Naruto Uzumaki, he introduced himself cautiously. We've actually met already. Sort of. That's impossible, the Pink Ranger stated flatly. I've never encountered either of you before. This is my first mission to this temporal coordinate. Kira and Yuto exchanged confused glances before understanding dawned on Kira's face. Time travel, she realized. You're Jen Scotts from before you visited our command center, aren't you? Command center? The armored figure questioned sharply. What command center? The one in my dimension, Naruto clarified. Look, this is going to sound crazy, but we just left you, a future version of you, monitoring dimensional anomalies from a command center that appeared in my world. The Pink Ranger remained silent for several seconds, likely processing this information behind her inscrutable helmet. Finally, with deliberate movements, she holstered her weapon and reached up to remove her helmet. The face revealed matched the Jen they had left behind, but subtly younger, with fewer stress lines around her eyes. Her expression conveyed professional skepticism tempered with scientific curiosity. That's temporally impossible, she stated, though with less certainty than before. I'm here investigating G-chronal fractures resulting from unidentified dimensional breaches. Time Force detected multiple timeline divergences originating from this location. Which is exactly what Future You is concerned about, Kira pointed out. The dimensional barriers are breaking down. Draken is exploiting the weaknesses to invade Naruto's world. Draken. Jen's expression hardened at the name. That's impossible. Lord Draken was neutralized during the Shattered Grid event. Apparently not permanently, Naruto interjected. Unless you've got another interdimensional warlord who commands Ranger sentries and targets specific chakra points. Jen's professional facade cracked slightly, genuine concern bleeding through. If Draken has returned and is targeting another dimension, the temporal implications are catastrophic. She activated a device on her wrist, scanning them both. Your quantum signatures are highly irregular. You've both experienced interdimensional transit recently. About 10 minutes ago, Kira confirmed. Through a dimensional corridor your future self helped establish. Jen's scanner beeped as it registered the Master Morpher in Naruto's hand. Her eyes widened in shock. The first unguarded emotion they had seen from the disciplined officer. That's impossible, she whispered. The Master Morpher was destroyed years ago. And these readings, she studied her device with increasing disbelief. It's been modified with technology that doesn't exist yet. Won't exist for centuries. Future You seemed pretty familiar with it, Naruto noted. Said it was signed specifically for someone who could channel both chakra and grid energy. The Dragon Sage, Jen murmured, almost to herself. But that's just a theory, a hypothetical convergence possibility a statistical probability of less than 0.01%. Well, theory just became reality, Kira gestured toward Naruto. Meet the Dragon Sage Ranger in the flesh. And we could really use Time Force's help. Figuring out what's happening to our dimensions. Jen's training reasserted itself as she processed this paradigm-shifting information with remarkable adaptability. I need to report this to Time Force Command immediately. This changes everything. Before she could activate her communicator, a series of explosions rocked the plateau. All three ducked instinctively as debris rained around them, training overriding surprise. Proximity alert, Jen announced, helmet reforming around her head through automated protocols. Multiple hostiles approaching from Vector 227. Through swirling dust merged a squadron of figures that confirmed their worst fears. Ranger sentries advanced in formation, their armor a corrupted version of traditional Ranger suits. Behind them walked a figure whose presence sent a chill through even Jen's disciplined composure. No, she whispered, the single word carrying volumes of horrified recognition. The figure stood nearly 7 feet tall, armor black as void with gold and green accents that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. A dragon-themed helmet concealed his features, but the malevolent energy radiating from him needed no visual confirmation. On his chest, a fractured dragon shield bore the scars of countless battles across dimensions. Lord Draken, Kira identified grimly, her morpher already on her wrist. How observant, the figure remarked. His voice a distorted blend of mockery and malice. The yellow dinosaur child and a Time Force officer. Unexpected, but ultimately irrelevant. His helmet turned toward Naruto, studying him with predatory intensity. And you must be the anomaly my sentries reported. The one who bonded with the Master Morpher. Naruto met the warlord's gaze without flinching, years of facing over whelming opponents evident in his steady stance. Naruto Uzumaki. Remember the name. You'll be hearing it a lot as I dismantle your invasion plans. A cold chuckle emanated from behind Draken's helmet. Spirited. I've conquered dimensions full of spirited defenders. Their bones pave my throne room floors. You won't find my dimension so easy to conquer, Naruto countered, the Master Morpher, pulsing in response to his rising determination. We've faced worse than you and prevailed. Have you? Draken's voice carried amused curiosity. Let's test that theory. With a casual gesture, he dispatched his sentries. Eliminate the Rangers. Bring me the Master Morpher and the anomaly's head. 20 Ranger sentries charged forward, energy weapons materializing in synchronized precision. Kira, Jen, and Naruto formed a defensive triangle without discussion, experienced warriors recognizing optimal positioning instinctively. It's morphin' time, Kira called, raising her bracelet. Dino Thunder, power up. Yellow energy engulfed her as the transformation sequence initiated, replacing her civilian clothes with the armor of the yellow Dino Thunder Ranger. The helmet formed last, its design incorporating elements of the Terra Zord she once commanded. Naruto didn't hesitate, raising the Master Morpher with practiced fluidity. It's morphin' time. Dragon Sage Ranger, Emerald Lig, HT intertwined with Golden Chakra as his transformation manifested. The Dragon Sage armor materialized with increased definition compared to his first morphing, evidence of his growing mastery. Sage Ma. Arcings now extended across the entire suit, creating intricate patterns that channeled dual energies with optimized efficiency. Jen, already morphed, drew her Chrono Blaster. Time for Time Force. The first wave of sentries reached their position, energy blades slicing through the air with lethal precision. Naruto responded with speed that surprised even his allies, the Dragon Dagger materialized in his hand as he intercepted 3 attackers simultaneously. These aren't like the ones I fought before, he called out, noting their enhanced capabilities. They're faster, more coordinated. Elite sentries, Jen confirmed. Her Chrono Blaster disabling 2 opponents with precision shots. Draken reserves them for priority targets. Kira executed a perfect backflip, avoiding an energy blast before countering with her Terra grips. Lucky us, we've been upgraded to priority. The battle expanded across the plateau as more sentries joined the assault. Naruto quickly adapted to the THR-EE dimensional fighting style required in Ranger combat, so different from shinobi engagement tactics. Where ninja fought through misdirection and strategic positioning, Ranger battles involved direct confrontation with powers amplified through the morphing grid. Naruto, Kira called, dispatching a sentry with a spinning kick. Try accessing your ninja techniques through the Morpher. The grid should amplify them. Understanding immediately, Naruto created a familiar hand sign within his armored gauntlets. Shadow Clone Jutsu. The Master Morpher pulsed as it channeled his chakra through grid energy. Instead of the usual dozen clones, Only 3 materialized, but each wore perfect replications of his Dragon Sage armor, their power signatures identical to the original. Fewer clones, Naruto observed as they engaged the sentries, but much stronger. Energy conservation protocols, Jen explained between precision strikes. The Morpher optimizes output based on tactical requirements. The 3 Rangers and 3 Dragon Sage clones pushed back the sentry assault with increasing effectiveness. Naruto discovered that while his clone output was reduced, each construct possessed NCED capabilities when filtered through the morphing grid. Their coordinated attacks systematically dismantled the sentry squadron, mechanical components scattering across the desert plateau. Throughout the engagement, Lord Draken observed from a distance, making no move to intervene. His passive observation carried more menace than active participation, suggesting the encounter served his analytical purposes rather than representing a serious attempt to defeat them. As the last sentry fell, Draken slow clapped with mocking appreciation. Impressive coordination for fighters from different dimensions. Perhaps this invasion will provide actual entertainment rather than mere conquest. This ends now, Draken, Jen declared, Chrono Blaster aimed at his chest. Time Force has designated you a pan-dimensional threat. Surrender or face temporal incarceration. Draken's laughter held genuine amusement. Your bureaucratic posturing never ceases to entertain me, Time Ranger. Do you truly believe your organization's authority extends to someone who exists outside your precious timeline? It doesn't matter what dimension you're from. Naruto stepped forward, dragon dagger pulsing with combined chakra and grid energy. You threaten innocent people, you deal with us. Such conviction, Draken observed with condescending appreciation. You remind me of myself, before I embraced the truth about power and its purpose. We're nothing alike, Naruto countered, golden energy flaring around his armored form. You will be, Draken promised with disturbing certainty. The Dragon Sage prophecy ensures it. What do you know about the prophecy? Kira demanded, Terra grips ready for renewed combat. More than you, Draken replied cryptically. More than your Time Force handle. With their fragmented records and sanitized histories. His helmet turned toward Naruto. Ask yourself why the Master Morpher appeared now, why it bonds specifically with your energy signature, WH. Why dimensional barriers collapse precisely when you access its power. Because you're forcing them to collapse, Jen accused. Your dimensional incursions are destabilizing the multiverse. No, Drive, Akin corrected with patronizing patience. I merely accelerated an inevitable process. The dimensions have been bleeding together for millennia, imperceptible to primitive sensors but constant nonetheless. The convergence was always coming. I simply recognized the opportunity it presented. The opportunity to conquer multiple realities, Naruto interpreted, his tactical mind processing implications rapidly. Starting with mine, conquest is merely a byproduct, Draken dismissed with casual arrogance. My goal is correction. Restoring what once was before your precious Sage and Zordon shared reality to prevent what they feared. This revelation visibly startled even Jen, her disciplined posture faltering momentarily. What are you talking about? Zordon never. Your historical records are incomplete by design. Draken interrupted. The truth was deliberately obscured to prevent exactly what's happening now. The reunification of energies that should never have been separated. He gestured toward Naruto. The Dragon Sage doesn't protect the dimensions, he's the key to merging them. Every time you transform, every time you channel both energies simultaneously, you weaken the barriers a little more. Naruto's grip tightened on the dragon dagger, uncertainty flickering beneath determination. You're lying. Jen, explained the Morpher stabilizes dimensions. Did she? Draken's voice carried knowing amusement. Or did she tell you what Time Force needed you to believe? Ask yourself why an organization obsessed with maintaining timeline integrity would provide technology that bridges dimensions. What are they really protecting? Before Naruto could respond, Jen fired her Chrono Blaster. The energy beam streaked toward Draken with perfect accuracy, only to pass harmlessly through him. Revealing his presence as a sophisticated holographic projection. Typical, the projection commented with evident disdain. When confronted with uncomfortable truths, Force resorts to silencing the messenger. Where are you? Jen demanded, scanning for his actual location. Face us directly, coward. My physical presence isn't required for this preliminary assessment, Draken replied dismissively. I've confirmed what my sentries reported. The Dragon Sage has emerged precisely as prophesied. The convergence accelerates. His projection turned to Naruto. We will meet again, Dragon Sage. When we do, you'll understand your true purpose in the coming reunification. Until then, enjoy your borrowed power and false understanding. The hologram dissipated, leaving the three rangers standing among defeated sentries as desert winds swept across the plateau. Silence held for several seconds as each processed Draken's disturbing claims. He was lying, Jen stated with forced conviction, removing her helmet to reveal a troubled expression that undermined her words. Manipulating us with half-truths and fabrications. Was he? Naruto questioned quietly, his transformation receding as the immediate threat passed. You seem surprised by his claims about Zordon. Jen hesitated, professional training warring with personal integrity. Time Force Records regarding the dimensional separation event are incomplete. The information is classified beyond my access level. Convenient, Kira noted, her own transformation dissolving in yellow light. So we're just supposed to trust that future you is telling the truth while Draken lies. Yes, Jen affirmed without hesitation, though uncertainty lingered in her eyes. Whatever Draken's planning, it involves destabilizing dimensional barriers. That can't be allowed regardless of historical nuances. Agreed, Naruto nodded, practical concerns overriding philosophical debates. Regardless of how the dimensions separated originally, allowing Draken to control their convergence would be catastrophic. Exactly, Jen seemed relieved by his pragmatic focus. We need to secure the command center ruins. If Draken sent a projection here, he's interested in this location specifically. As they approached the ruins, Naruto's enhanced senses detected subtle energy patterns beneath the dormant systems waiting for reactivation. The Master Morpher pulsed in response, its crystals glowing with increasing intensity as they neared the central foundation. There's something here, he noted, following the resonance to a partially buried console. Something connecting to the Morpher. Kira and Jen joined him as he brushed away accumulated sand, revealing control panels of unfamiliar design. Though weathered by years of exposure, the technology showed signs of self-repair, microscopic components reconfiguring to restore functionality. This shouldn't be active, Jen observed with professional concern. The original command center was completely destroyed decades ago. Not completely, Kira corrected, pointing to symbols illuminating beneath the surface. Zordon's technology was partially organic, designed to repair itself given sufficient energy. Naruto placed the Master Morpher near the console. Immediately, the ancient systems responded, lights flickering to life across the buried structure. The ground trembled as dormant machinery activated beneath their feet. What did you do? Jen questioned sharply, scanner already evaluating potential threats. I didn't do anything, Naruto replied defensively. The Morpher and the command center recognized each other. The trembling intensified as sections of the plateau began shifting, reconfiguring like a massive puzzle. Crystalline spires emerged from buried chambers, their surfaces catching sunlight and transforming it into power that fed awakening systems. We should step back, Kira suggested with justified caution. Old Ranger tech can be unpredictable when reactivating. They retreated to a safe distance as the transformation accelerated. Within minutes, a structure stood where ruins had lain, not the original command center's design, but something that incorporated elements of both Ranger technology and what Naruto recognized as chakra-responsive architecture similar to ancient sites in his dimension. It's happening here too, he realized, connecting observations. Just like in my world. The command center is reconstructing itself as a bridge between dimensions. That's impossible, Jen stated, though her tone lacked conviction as evidence materialized before them. These systems are centuries apart in development. They shouldn't be compatible, unless they were originally created by the same intelligence. Kira suggested thoughtfully, if Zordon and your Sage of Six Paths were connected somehow. The transformation completed with a final surge of energy that rippled across the desert. Where scattered ruins had stood, a functioning command center now rose against the sky, its design a harmonious blend of technologies separated by dimensional boundaries for millennia. As if responding to an unspoken invitation, the structure's main entrance irised open. Energy patterns pulsed across the threshold in what appeared to be a welcoming gesture. I don't like this, Jen admitted. Professional suspicion evident. This facility isn't in any Time Force database. It wouldn't be, Naruto reasoned. It just created itself by combining technologies from separate dimensions. Only one way to find out what it wants, Kira decided, stepping forward with characteristic determination. Answers are inside, not out here. With cautious awareness, the three entered the reconstructed command center. The interior revealed a circular chamber dominated by a central control console similar to the one in Naruto's dimension but incorporating unique elements specific to this reality. Viewing screens activated automatically, displaying maps of both Angel Grove and Konoha, visual confirmation of the structure's cross-dimensional awareness. This is incredible, Kira whispered. Professional assessment giving way to genuine wonder. It's like the original command center but evolved. Naruto approached the central console, drawn by an intuitive connection. As his hands touched the controls, interfaces reconfigured to accommodate his unfamiliarity with Ranger technology, displaying information through symbols he recognized from his world. It's adapting to me, He observed with mixture of fascination and concern. Learning how I process information. Sophisticated integration protocols, Jen noted, scanner analyzing the technology with increasing bewilderment. Some of these components use principles Time Force won't discover for centuries. A holographic projection materialized above the console, a three-dimensional map of interconnected dimensions. At the center, two spheres represented their respective worlds, connected by luminous filaments that pulsed with increasing intensity. The convergence, Kira identified, studying the projection with growing comprehension. It's mapping how our dimensions are reconnecting. And others, Naruto added, indicating additional spheres orbiting the central connection, each representing another reality drawn into the convergence pattern. Dozens of dimensions, all being pulled together. Jen activated the primary interface, her Time Force training providing familiarity with the underlying operation. Principles despite the hybrid technology. Data streams responded to her commands, revealing information that visibly disturbed the disciplined officer. This confirms temporal fractures consistent with Draken's claims. She admitted reluctantly. The dimensional separation was an intentional event, not a natural occurrence. So Zordon and the Sage really did separate the dimensions? Kira questioned, struggling to reconcile this revelation with established Ranger history. According to these records, Jen confirmed, continuing to process data streams, they collaborated to prevent what they called the Great Corruption, a catastrophic merging of incompatible energies that threatened all reality. Naruto studied the holographic representation thoughtfully. And now those energies are reconnecting naturally. Draken isn't causing the convergence, he's exploiting it. Precisely, a new voice confirmed. All three turned defensively toward the unexpected intrusion. Standing in a previously empty alcove was a figure that caused both Rangers to freeze in astonishment. Zordon, Kira whispered incredulously. The figure, a holographic representation of a humanoid face within an energy tube, smiled gently. Not precisely. I am an echo program containing selected memory patterns and knowledge bases. The actual Zordon sacrificed himself many years ago in your timeline, Kira Ford. An artificial intelligence based on Zordon's consciousness, Jen interpreted, professional composure recovering quickly. Advanced but theoretically possible, the hologram nodded. I was embed within the Master Morpher's subsystems, programmed to activate when the convergence reached critical thresholds. Its attention shifted to Naruto, studying him with analytical interest. You or T, he chakra wielder who bonded with the Morpher. The dragon sage of prophecy. So everyone keeps telling me, Naruto replied with characteristic directness. Though no one seems to agree on what that actually means. The Zordon Echo's expression conveyed sympathetic understanding. The prophecy has been intentionally obscured through millennia of dimensional separation. Both sides feared what complete knowledge might precipitate. Both sides, Kira questioned. Those who followed Zordon's teachings and those who preserved the Sage of Six Paths, legacy, the hologram clarified. Each maintained in separate but complementary guardianship of dimensional stability. Until now, Naruto concluded, intuitive understanding forming. Because the dimensions are reconnecting regardless of what anyone does. Correct. The Zordon Echo confirmed. The separation was always temporary, a desperate measure to prevent immediate catastrophe, not a permanent solution. The dimensional barriers have been thinning for centuries, allowing incremental adaptation between energy systems. And the Master Morpher? Naruto asked, removing the device from his pocket. What's its true purpose? The holographic face regarded the Morpher with evident recognition. A key and a bridge. It was designed collaboratively between Time Force scientists and chakra sages to facilitate controlled convergence when the time came. Time Force. Jen interjected sharply. That's impossible. This technology predates our organization by millennia. From your perspective, perhaps, the Echo responded cryptically. Quote, temporal causality becomes complicated during dimensional convergence events. Before Jen could pursue this disturbing implication, Naruto refocused the conversation with practical directness. So what happens now? How do we prevent Draken from weaponizing this convergence? The Master Morpher must be used as intended, the hologram explained. To harmonize the reconnecting energies gradually, rather than allowing chaotic reintegration. Each time you transform, each time you channel both power sources simultaneously, you establish resonance patterns that stabilize the convergence process. Which is exactly what Draken claimed was happening, Kira pointed out with justifiable suspicion. He said Naruto's transformations accelerate the breakdown of dimensional barriers. A partial truth serving complete deception. The Echo clarified. The barriers will dissolve regardless. The Dragon Sage determines whether that process occurs with destructive chaos or harmonious integration. Naruto considered this information thoughtfully. And Draken wants chaos because it's easier to exploit for conquest. Precisely, the hologram confirmed. Discordant energies create power vacuums He can fill with his corrupted grid connections. By targeting your world's chakra nexus points, he establishes disruptive interference patterns that accelerate chaotic convergence. So my job is to counter those patterns. Naruto reasoned with growing understanding. To create harmony between energies rather than conflict. Yes, though you cannot accomplish this alone, the Echo cautioned. The Dragon Sage prophecy speaks of allies from both dimensions, warriors who embody the purest expressions of their respective power sources. Rangers and shinobi working together, Kira interpreted, exchanging meaningful glances with Naruto. Creating a unified defense across dimensions. A resistance spanning realities, Jen added, tactical mind already formulating coordination strategies. UNPR. Unprecedented but theoretically viable given sufficient communication infrastructure. Which this command center can provide, Naruto realized, understanding the facility's purpose. That's why it reconstructed itself in both dimensions simultaneously, to serve as coordination hubs. The Zordon Echo smiled approvingly. Your intuitive grasp of interdimensional dynamics is impressive, Naruto Uzumaki. The Master Morpher chose its wielder well. It chose me, Naruto questioned, surprised by this characterization. The Morpher contains semi-sentient selection protocols, the hologram explained. Quote, it analyzed thousands of potential wielders across both dimensions before identifying you as the optimal candidate, someone who could channel both energies without corruption, who possessed the necessary balance between power and compassion. Quote, great, Naruto muttered with characteristic humor despite the weight of responsibility. Another destiny I never asked for. At least this one doesn't involve a giant fox. Kira chuckled appreciatively while Jen looked confused by the reference to Naruto's Biju heritage. So where do we start? Kira asked, practical focus returning. Draken's already targeting chakra points in Naruto's world, and he's clearly interested in Angel Grove as well. The immediate priority is establishing stable connection points between dimensions, the Echo advised. The command centers provide primary anchors, but additional nexus points must be secured and harmonized. The valley where I found the Morpher, Naruto suggested. And here, the original command center site. They're already responding to the convergence. Correct, the hologram confirmed. Additionally, locations of historical significance to both power systems, places where natural energy concentrates are where dimensional barriers are naturally thinner. The Angel Grove Harbor, Kira identified. Site of numerous ranger battles. The ambient grid energy there is off the charts. And the Valley of the End in my world, Naruto added, where the first Hokage fought Madara Uchiha. The landscape itself is infused with their chakra. Precisely, the Zordon Echo approved. These Lakati ons must be secured before Draken can establish corrupted resonance patterns through them. A sudden alarm interrupted their planning session. Monitoring screens shifted to display multiple energy signatures appearing throughout Angel Grove, systematic breaches forming in a precise pattern that suggested coordinated deployment. Ranger sentries, Jen identified, already moving toward the exit. Dozens of them, materializing downtown. Quote, "They're targeting civilians," Kira noted with professional alarm. "Standard Draken tactics. Create chaos to divide defending forces." Naruto's expression hardened with resolute determination. "Then we stop them before they succeed. You'll need help," the Zordon Echo advised. "The command center can establish communication with your allies in the shinobi dimension." "Do it," Naruto instructed, creating 3 shadow clones with practiced efficiency. "Send 2 of my clones back with instructions for Kakashi and Sakura. The third stays here to coordinate between command centers." An efficient allocation of resources, Jen approved, professional assessment overriding her lingering suspicions about the facility. Time Force protocols suggest SEMI. Law approaches for interdimensional crisis management. The clones took positions on the teleportation platform as the Echo program initiated dimensional transfer. In flashes of green-tinged light, Woe disappeared while the third remained to operate the Angel Grove Command Center's systems. "They'll bring reinforcements," Naruto assured as he joined Kira and Jen at the exit. "Until then, we handle this ourselves." 3 rangers against an army of sentries, Kira noted with grim humor. "Typical Wednesday in Angel Grove. I've faced worse odds," Naruto reminded her with confident determination. "Remember, I was taking on godlike entities when I was 16. Overconfidence remains a significant tactical vulnerability," Jen observed, though a hint of amusement softened her professional critique. "It's not overconfidence if you can back it up," Naruto countered with a grin that reminded Kira why he had inspired such loyalty in his own dimension. The 3 rangers exited the command center, morphers ready as they faced the battle awaiting them in Angel Grove. Behind them, the Zordon Echo watched their departure with an expression that conveyed both hope and concern, aware of prophecies and possibilities they had yet to discover. In downtown Angel Grove, civilians fled in panic as dimensional breaches materialized throughout the business district. Ranger sentries emerged in systematic deployment, their corrupted armor a twisted mockery of the heroes who had protected the city for generations. From a nearby rooftop, a solitary figure observed the chaos with calculating eyes. Unlike the mechanical sentries following program directives, this observer moved with the fluid grace of a trained assassin. Black armor with red accents covered a distinctly human form, while a mask concealed all features except for a single eye that glowed with unnatural crimson light. "The Dragon Sage has taken the bait," the figure noted with cold satisfaction, communicating through secured dimensional channels. Draken's distraction proceeds as planned. The response came not from Draken but from another entity altogether, one whose voice carried the cultural inflections of the shinobi world rather than ranger dimensions. "Excellent," the unseen collaborator approved. "While they focus on Angel Grove, our real objective proceeds unhindered. The convergence serves our purpose, not Draken's." "The fool believes himself the architect of dimensional reunification," the armored figure remarked with evident disdain. "He remains unaware of our true design. Let him continue that delusion." The voice counseled with calculating patience. "His resources serve our purpose for now. When the time comes, the Dragon Sage will fulfill his true destiny, not as savior of dimensions, but as the instrument of their proper reorganization. Under our guidance," the figure concluded with absolute conviction. "Under our control," the voice corrected. "After all, what is a dragon without its master?" The armored observer continued monitoring as Naruto, Kira, and Jen appeared on a street below, already engaging the first wave of sentries. Power signatures flared as they morphed, unaware of the deeper game unfolding around their heroic interventions. "The convergence accelerates," the figure noted dispassionately. "Soon, the barriers will thin enough for direct intervention. Patience, Kagato," the voice cautioned. "Our moment approaches, but premature action would alert both Draken and the Rangers to our presence. For now, observe and report. The true war for dimensional control has only begun." The observer, Kagato, acknowledged with disciplined restraint, continuing his surveillance as battles erupted throughout Angel Grove. The sentries were expendable, our purpose distraction rather than victory. The real objective lay elsewhere, in connections forming between worlds that had been separated for reasons even Draken failed to truly comprehend. In the streets below, Naruto fought with increasing synergy between his shinobi training and ranger powers. Each transformation brought greater integration, each battle refined his control over the merged energies. Exactly as planned. Grow stronger, Dragon Sage, Kagito murmured with predatory anticipation. Your power serves purposes beyond your understanding. The battle for Angel Grove intensified. As shadows gathered across dimensions, alliances and betrayals taking shape beneath the surface conflict. The true convergence had only just begun. Chapter 2 and Chapter 3, Legacy of the Dragon. The shattered remains of Ranger sentries littered Angel Grove's downtown district. Smoke curled from damaged storefronts while emergency responders guided civilians to safety. Atop a partially collapsed parking structure, Naruto braced himself against a concrete pillar, armor dissolving as his transformation receded. Exhaustion etched lines across his whiskered face, not from physical exertion, but from the mental strain of controlling unfamiliar energies. That was, he paused, searching for an appropriate descriptor, different. Hira approached, her own transformation dismissed. A thin cut traced her left cheekbone, already crusting with dried blood. Different how? In my world, battles flow like water, advance, retreat, redirect. Naruto gestured toward the devastation below. Here, it's all direct confrontation. No subtlety. Welcome to Ranger combat, Hira replied, wincing as she rotated a bruised shoulder. Power against power, usually in the middle of populated areas because villains have terrible urban planning priorities. Tactically inefficient, Jen assessed, joining them with professional composure despite the grueling battle they'd just survived. Not a hair out of place. Her time force training evident in both posture and recovery rate, but necessary given civilian protection parameters. Naruto absorbed this perspective with thoughtful consideration. Throughout the battle, he'd noticed how Ranger tactics prioritized visibility and inspiration, fighting openly rather than from shadows. The shinobi approach of stealth and misdirection would have reduced collateral damage but potentially increased civilian casualties through lack of clear evacuation paths. Different worlds, different methods, he acknowledged, respect evident in his tone. Both valid in their contexts. The city below buzzed with activity as authorities implemented what appeared to be well-practiced disaster protocols. Emergency vehicles navigated debris-strewn streets with practiced precision, suggesting Angel Grove's population had developed resilience through repeated exposure to supernatural threats. Your people recover quickly, Naruto observed. They've had practice, Hira explained with a mixture of pride and regret. Angel Grove has endured monster attacks since the original Rangers appeared. Resilience becomes second nature. Like Konoha after Pain's invasion, Naruto nodded. Understanding the parallel, Gen's communicator chirped, interrupting their moment of reflection. Time Force emergency broadcast, she reported, checking the device with professional efficiency. Multiple temporal fractures detected throughout the city. Quantum signature matches previous Draken incursions. He's not giving up, Naruto concluded grimly. He never does, Hira confirmed. Fatigue evident beneath her determined exterior. But neither do we. A distant explosion punctuated her statement, orange flames billowing from the harbor district. Fresh screams echoed between skyscrapers as civilians fled yet another outbreak of violence. No rest for heroes, Naruto sighed, straightening despite his fatigue. The Master Morpher pulsed in his hand, responding to his renewed determination. Wait, Gen commanded, her analytical mind processing tactical options. Direct confrontation without strategic assessment is precisely what Draken wants. These attacks are too systematic to be random violence. She's right, Hira agreed, professional experience overriding emotional response. He's testing our reaction patterns, forcing us to exhaust ourselves through continuous engagement. Naruto paused, tactical training asserting itself over combat instincts. So what's his real objective while we're distracted? Before either ranger could respond, a familiar sensation washed over Naruto, the distinctive mental connection of a shadow clone dispelling, its gathered information transferring directly to his consciousness. His expression shifted from confusion to urgent comprehension. "My clone at the command center just dispelled," he announced, processing the influx of information. Dimensional breaches appearing throughout both our worlds, but concentrated around specific locations. "The nexus points we identified earlier," Jen deduced, immediately grasping strategic implications. "Exactly," Naruto confirmed. "And there's something else. The Mon Center detected an unusual energy signature in the mountains north of here. Not Draken, not sentries, something different." "Different how?" Kira pressed. "Organic," Naruto explained, struggling to articulate the unfamiliar readings his clone had observed. "A living being whose energy signature resonates with both the morphing grid and chakra networks." Jen's composed expression revealed a flicker of recognition. "Location coordinates." Naruto provided the details, watching as Jen's professional demeanor shifted subtly toward urgency. "You know what's there," he observed. It wasn't a question. "Not what," Jen corrected after a moment's hesitation. "Who? And if I'm right, we need to reach them before Draken does." "Another ranger?" Kira questioned. "A guardian," Jen replied cryptically. "Someone who might provide answers we desperately need." Decision made, the three made their way from the rooftop, navigating urban devastation with practiced efficiency. Naruto observed how seamlessly his companions transitioned between civilian and warrior modes, a skill shared by experienced shinobi who likewise lived between worlds of normalcy and violence. They commandeered an abandoned vehicle, Kira taking the wheel with casual expertise. As they navigated debris-strewn streets toward the city outskirts, Naruto studied the unfamiliar urban landscape. Angel Grove's architecture differed fundamentally from shinobi settlements, built for commerce and civilian comfort rather than defensive positioning. "Your world feels exposed," he commented, analytical mind assessing structural vulnerabilities. "No walls, no strategic choke points. How do you defend against invasion?" "We don't," Kira explained, swerving around abandoned vehicles. "At least, not physically. Our cities aren't designed for warfare." "Which is precisely why ranger teams emerged," Jen added from the backseat, monitoring temporal disturbances on her wrist device. "Mobile response units rather than static defenses." The city gradually gave way to suburbs, then rural countryside as they ascended into foothills leading toward distant mountains. Vegetation grew denser, trees more ancient as they followed. Wed winding roads into wilderness areas untouched by urban expansion. "Stop here," Jen instructed as they reached a seemingly arbitrary point where asphalt surrendered to dirt track. "We proceed on foot. The energy signature is emanating from approximately 3 kilometers northeast, in a valley between ridgelines." They abandoned the vehicle, continuing their journey through increasingly dense forest. Naruto moved with natural grace, shinobi training evident in his silent footfalls and spatial awareness. He noted how Kira matched his stealth despite lacking formal ninja training. Her movement suggested a dancer's muscle memory combined with ranger combat experience. Jen navigated using her time force scanner, leading them along game trails and natural pathways. After 30 minutes of steady hiking, they crested a ridge overlooking a secluded valley. Ancient trees formed a protective canopy over a clearing where a modest structure stood, not quite cabin, not quite temple, its architecture blending elements from multiple cultural traditions. "That's unexpected," Kira remarked, studying the building with professional curiosity. "Doesn't match any ranger facility I'm familiar with." "It wouldn't," Jen confirmed, her scanner registering increasingly complex energy patterns. "This place exists partially outside normal space-time, a dimensional pocket anchored to our reality but not entirely contained within it." "Like a reverse summoning technique," Naruto suggested, recognizing conceptual similarities to shinobi dimensional manipulations. They descended toward the clearing, maintaining alert awareness for defensive systems or sentries. None appeared, though Naruto's enhanced senses detected subtle energy patterns surrounding the structure, not barriers exactly, but monitoring systems that certainly registered their approach. As they reached the building's perimeter, its entrance opened. A woman emerged, early 40s perhaps, with warm brown skin and features that projected both wisdom and wariness. She wore simple clothing that somehow suggested ceremonial significance despite lacking obvious ornamentation. Her close-cropped hair framed a face that had aged. gracefully from the youthful features Kira vaguely recognized. Aisha, Kira questioned, uncertainty evident in her tone. The woman tilted her head, studying Kira with analytical intensity. Yes and no, she replied, her voice carrying musical cadence that suggested non-American origins despite perfect English. I am Aisha Campbell in this dimension, though not the one you knew in yours, Kira Ford. Multiverse theory confirmed, Jen murmured, scanner documenting the encounter with professional detachment. Aisha's attention shifted to Naruto, her expression transforming from cautious assessment to profound recognition. The Dragon Sage, she stated with certainty. You've finally appeared, later than expected, but right when needed. Naruto shifted uncomfortably under her knowing gaze. You were expecting me. For approximately 7 years, Aisha confirmed matter-of-factly. Though temporal projections suggested your emergence during the previous dimensional convergence attempt. Draken's interference altered the timeline. Previous attempt? Jen questioned sharply. Time Force records indicate no prior convergence events of this magnitude. Your records are intentionally incomplete. Aisha replied without hostility, merely stating fact. Come inside. This conversation requires protection from interdimensional monitoring. She turned without waiting for response, entering the structure with the confident expectation of being followed. The three exchanged glances before Naruto shrugged with characteristic adaptability. At least she's offering answers instead of riddles. They followed Aisha into a space that defied their expectations. The interior vastly exceeded the building's external dimensions, a physical impossibility that suggested significant dimensional manipulation. Central to the space was a circular chamber dominated by a crystalline formation that pulsed with gentle light. Surrounding it were workstations combining advanced technology with organic components, while the walls displayed maps and diagrams annotating multiverse structures with both scientific precision and artistic representation. Dimensional Observatory, Jen identified with professional recognition. Advanced beyond current Time Force capabilities. Because it incorporates principles from multiple realities, Aisha explained, activating systems with practiced gestures. Including chakra-based dimensional theory from the shinobi world. You've been to my dimension? Naruto questioned, immediately alert. Not physically, Aisha clarified. But I've studied it extensively through dimensional apertures. Your world's approach to energy manipulation provides crucial insights into multiverse coherence patterns. The crystalline formation illuminated, projecting a three-dimensional representation of interconnected dimensions. Unlike the command center's display, this visualization included historical trajectories, showing how realities had diverged and reconnected over millennia. The multiverse breathes, Aisha explained, gesturing toward cyclic patterns evident in the display. Expansion and contraction across cosmic timescales. What you're experiencing now is part of a natural reconvergence phase, accelerated by Draken's interference. The Zordon Echo said something similar, Naruto recalled. That the dimensional separation was always temporary. Correct, Aisha confirmed, adjusting the display to highlight specific connection points. Approximately 12,000 years ago, a cataclysmic event threatened to destroy all reality. The dimensional guardians, including beings your history's record as Zordon and the Sage of Six Paths, implemented emergency protocols to separate incompatible energy systems. Creating the morphing grid in one dimension and chakra networks in another, Kira deduced, quickly grasping the implications. A simplification, but essentially accurate, Aisha nodded approvingly. The separation prevented immediate catastrophic collapse but created new problems over millennial timescales. Energy systems designed to complement each other became isolated, developing along divergent evolutionary paths. And now they're reconnecting, Naruto concluded. That's why the Master Morpher responds to both energy types. Precisely. Aisha approached him, studying the Morpher with scholarly interest. The device was designed by interdimensional collaboration. Time Force contributed quantum stabilization components while chakra sages provided energetic integration frameworks. That's temporally impossible, Jen objected. Professional certainty evident in her tone. Time Force hasn't established contact with the shinobi dimension prior to current events. From your perspective, Aisha acknowledged without disputing the claim. Temporal linearity becomes complicated during convergence events. Causality flows multidirectionally. Before Jen could pursue this disturbing implication, Naruto redirect. Ed the conversation with practical focus. So what happens now? How do we prevent Draken from weaponizing the convergence? By completing what the Morpher started, Aisha answered, activating a sec. Ondary display showing energy distribution patterns across both dimensions. The Master Morpher creates temporary stability through your transformations, but permanent integration requires estabilization. G harmonic resonance at key nexus points. The locations we identified earlier, Kira recalled. Angel Grove Harbor, the Valley of the End. Those and others, Aisha confirmed. Places where dimensional boundaries naturally thin during convergence phases. By channeling both energies simultaneously at these locations, you establish stabilization patterns that guide the reconnection process. While Draken attempts to corrupt the same locations, Naruto reasoned, tactical mind identifying strategic objectives. Creating chaos that serves his conquest plans. Exactly. Aisha's expression conveyed both approval and concern. Which is why time is critical. Each corrupted nexus point exponentially increases dimensional instability. Then we need to secure these locations immediately, Jen decided. Professional assessment overriding lingering suspicions. Starting with those most vulnerable to corruption. Not yet, Aisha countered with quiet authority. The Dragon Sage requires preparation before attempting full harmonic integration. Premature deployment would risk catastrophic energy destabilization. Preparation how? Naruto questioned. Integration training, Aisha explained. Gesturing toward the central crystal. Your current transformations access only fractional harmonics between energy systems. True integration requires deeper understanding of the complementar Y relationship between chakra and grid energy. We don't have time for extended training sequences, Kira objected, practical concerns evident. Draken's forces are attacking both dimensions right now. Which is precisely why proper preparation is essential, Aisha countered calmly. Attempting dimensional harmonization with incomplete understanding would create vulnerabilities Draken could exploit. She's right, Naruto acknowledged, intuitive understanding forming. I've been forcing the energies together rather than truly integrating them. It's like using Kurama's chakra before we became partners, functional but inefficient. Aisha nodded, pleased by his insight. Exactly. The Master Morpher responds to your intent, but its full potential remains untapped without proper energetic alignment. How long will this training take? Jen questioned, temporal considerations foremost in her professional assessment. Approximately 6 hours, Aisha estimated. Though duration could reduce significantly given Naruto's exceptional learning capacity. 6 hours while both worlds are under attack. Kira challenged, protective instincts evident. There has to be a faster option. There is, Naruto realized. Forming a familiar hand sign. Shadow clone jutsu. Multiple duplicates appeared throughout the chamber, each an exact replica of the original. Aisha observed the technique. Yui with scholarly fascination rather than surprise, suggesting prior knowledge of shinobi capabilities. My clones can train separately, each focusing on different aspects of integration, Naruto explained. When they dispel, I gain their combined experience simultaneously. Exponential learning potential, Aisha noted with approval. This approach could reduce training time to under 2 hours. Meanwhile, we should establish communication with the shinobi dimension, Jen suggested, adaptable despite her professional reservations. Coordinate defensive operations until Naruto completes his training. Aisha gestured toward a communication station. The observatory can establish secure quantum channels immune to Draken's surveillance. Your allies can provide situation reports while we prepare. Decision made. They divided responsibilities with practiced efficiency. Jen coordinated with Time Force units responding to Angel Grove incursions. Kira established communication with their command center. Receiving updates from Naruto's remaining clone. Naruto's duplicates began intensive training under Aisha's guidance, each focusing on different aspects of energy integration. The original Naruto followed Aisha to the central crystal, where she initiated a more personalized training protocol. Unlike conventional instruction, this process involved direct energetic resonance, the crystal responding to Naruto's chakra signature while projecting complementary grid frequencies. Your energy contains remarkable adaptive properties, Aisha observed as golden chakra interacted with emerald grid patterns. Most beings require generations of evolution to integrate interdimensional energies. You're accomplishing it in days. I've had practice with different chakra types, Naruto explained modestly. The 9 tails, sage energy, 6 paths power. More than practice, Aisha corrected gently. You possess natural harmonizing capabilities, likely why the Master Morpher selected you specifically. Everyone keeps saying the Morpher chose me, Naruto noted with curious skepticism. How does an inanimate object make choices? Aisha's expression suggested amusement at his characterization. The Master Morpher incorporates semi-sentient quantum assessment algorithms, what your dimension might call seal consciousness. Not fully alive, but capable of complex decision processes. Like the sage tools, Naruto murmured, recognizing conceptual similarities to legendary shinobi artifacts that exercised preference for specific wielders. Their training continued through shifting light patterns as the crystal established progressively complex resonance frequencies. Naruto absorbed the lessons with remarkable adaptability, his natural affinity for energy manipulation accelerating the process beyond even Aisha's optimistic projections. Across the chamber, Kira monitored communications while occasionally glancing toward Naruto's training. She noticed how the golden chakra surrounding him gradually harmonized with grid energies, creating beautiful auroral patterns that shifted between complementary frequencies. Her expression revealed complex emotions, professional admiration certainly, but something more personal developing beneath. Your concern exceeds professional parameters, Jen observed quietly, joining Kira at the monitoring station. The time force Sir's perceptiveness extended beyond temporal anomalies to interpersonal dynamics. Kira maintained her focus on the displays, neither confirming nor denying the observation. He's carrying impossible expectations. Dimensional Savior is a heavy title for anyone. He's carried similar burdens before, Jen noted, referencing information gathered during their limited time together. From what you've shared about his history, responsibility isn't new territory. That doesn't make it fair, Kira countered, unexpected passion coloring her typically pragmatic tone. He's 19, Jen, 19 and already scarred by one war. Age becomes relative during interdimensional conflicts, Jen responded, though her expression softened with unexpected empathy. But your point is valid. The psychological burden warrants consideration in tactical planning. Their conversation paused as communication systems chimed with incoming transmissions. The holographic display materialized a familiar figure, Sakura Haruno. Her pink hair disheveled and medical uniform showing evidence of recent battlefield treatment. Kira, she greeted with professional efficiency. Situation update from Konoha. Diamonds. Ional incursions have increased by approximately 47% since your departure. Primarily Ranger sentries targeting chakra nexus points, though we've encountered more advanced units at key locations. Casualties. Kira questioned, immediately focused on tactical assessment. Minimal civilian, moderate shinobi, Sakura reported with clinical precision. Our forces adapt quickly to unconventional threats. Hinata's Byakugan has proven particularly effective against sentry shield modulations. Speaking of Hinata, Kira began carefully, is she available for consultation? We've discovered information about chakra grid integration that might interest her research. Sakura's expression revealed subtle understanding of the underlying question. She's currently defending the Eastern Nexus Point with Team 8. I'll relay your request when she reports in. The medical ninja's attention shifted to something beyond the communication field. I should go. The hospital receiving zone just activated with incoming wounded. Sakura out. As the transmission ended, Kira turned to find Jen studying her with analytical interest. What? She challenged defensively. Your inquiry about Hinata Hyuga C. Arid subtext beyond tactical relevance, Jen observed neutrally. Personal interest in her relationship with Naruto. Kira sighed, professional composure momentarily slipping. I'm trying to understand the dynamics I've stepped into. Hinata clearly cares for him, and based on their interactions, the feeling seems mutual. Yet ambiguous, Jen noted perceptively. Their communication patterns August established emotional connection without formalized commitment parameters. In other words, it's complicated, Kira translated with a hint of irony. Which makes she hesitated, searching for appropriate terminology. Developing interest problematic. Jen considered this with thoughtful analysis rather than judgment. Interdimensional relationships present unique challenges beyond conventional romantic considerations. Temporal sustainability becomes a significant variable. Are you suggesting this is temporary by definition? Kira questioned, unexpected vulnerability showing through her pragmatic exterior. I'm suggesting variables exceed standard relational algorithms, Jen clarified with unexpected gentleness. But human connection transcends dimensional boundaries more readily than physical matter. History demonstrates this repeatedly. Before Kira could respond, a sudden alarm disrupted their conversation. Monitoring systems flashed crimson warnings as sensors detected incoming threats. Aisha immediately disengaged from the training sequence, moving to primary controls with practiced urgency. Dimensional breach forming directly outside the observatory, she reported. Activating defensive protocols. Quantum signature matches Draken's elite units. Naruto rejoined them, training interrupted but not before significant progress. The Master Morpher Poo, LSED with enhanced luminosity in his hand, suggesting successful integration advancements. How did they find us? Kira questioned, already retrieving her Morpher. The training emissions, Jen deduced with professional assessment. Harmonic resonance creates detectable patterns for sufficiently advanced tracking systems. Precisely, Aisha confirmed, activating exterior monitoring displays. He imagery revealed 6 armored figures materializing at the observatory's perimeter. Not standard ranger sentries but something more evolved, more deliberately constructed. Dimensional hunters, Aisha identified grimly. Draken's elite acquisition squad, specifically designed to track and capture beings of interdimensional significance. Like the Dragon Sage, Naruto concluded, studying the A.P.P. roaching threats with tactical assessment. Unlike the mass-produced sentries they'd encountered previously, these hunters moved with individualized precision suggesting specialized capabilities. Air armor incorporates both technologies and biological components harvested from conquered dimensions, Aisha explained, defensive systems responding to her commands. Each is designed to counter specific power types they expect to encounter. Can your observatory defenses hold them? Jen questioned, already calculating tactical options. Temporarily, Aisha acknowledged, but sustained as so. LT will eventually compromise containment fields. We need extraction strategy. Naruto studied the hunters' approach pattern with growing recognition. They're not attacking randomly. That's a Shinob encirclement formation, designed to systematically eliminate escape vectors. Which means at least one has encountered ninja tactics before, Kira deduced, alarmed by this implication. They've studied your world specifically in preparation for this invasion, Jen suggested, the tactical implications equally concerning. A thunderous impact shook the observatory as the hunters initiated their assault. Crystalline barriers flared with defensive energy, temporarily repelling the attack but visibly straining under the pressure. 3 minutes until barrier failure, Aisha estimated, initiating secondary protocols. The observatory contains critical interdimensional research that cannot fall into Draken's possession. Then we take the fight outside, Naruto decided with characteristic determination. Draw them away from the facility. Directly confronting specialized hunters presents significant tactical risks, Jen cautioned, professional assessment superseding combat instincts. Their armaments are specifically designed to counter our abilities. Which is exactly why standard tactics won't work, Naruto countered, already formulating alternative strategies. We need unconventional approaches they haven't prepared for. Another impact rattled the structure, crystals throughout the chamber resonating with harmonic distress. External monitors showed the hunters deploy Ying specialized equipment against the dimensional barriers, corruption modules designed to unravel the protective fields at the quantum level. Barrier integrity at 67% and dropping, Aisha reported. Decision point reached. Naruto turned to his companions, leadership qualities emerging naturally in crisis. Kira, Jen, we morph and engage from multiple vectors. Create confusion, while I analyze their individual capabilities. And then, Kira questioned, already moving toward the exit chamber. Then we adapt, Naruto replied with confident determination. They've studied our standard abilities. Let's show them something new. Decision made. They moved to the observatory's primary entrance as Aisha initiated emergency protocols. I'll begin data transfer to secure backup locations, she informed them. Critical research must be preserved regardless of this facility's status. We'll ensure you have time, Jen assured her, professional commitment evident despite the tactical disadvantages they faced. As they reached the entrance chamber, Naruto paused, an uncharacteristic moment of uncertainty crossing his features. "There's something you should know before we engage," he began, looking specifically at Kira. "During training, I accessed deeper connection with the Morpher. It showed me possibilities." "What kind of possibilities?" Kira questioned. "Rang. Evolution beyond established parameters," Naruto explained, struggling to articulate concepts only partially understood. "The potential for energy sharing between compatible morphers. Theoretica. LLY possible but never successfully implemented," Gen noted with professional skepticism. "Ranger powers are individually calibrated to specific energy signatures. Unless a harmonizing agent creates adaptive resonance between them," Naruto countered, the master morpher pulsing as if confirming his assertion. "Like what the dragon sage formed as naturally." Another impact interrupted their discussion. This one powerful enough to create visible cracks in the observatory's external structure. Decision time had expired. "Theoretical discussion continues after we survive," Kira decided pragmatically. "It's morphin time." 3 transformation sequences initiated simultaneously, energy cascading around them in respective colors. Gen's pink time force armor materialized with precise efficiency, chronological components enhancing its standard capabilities. Kira's yellow Dino Thunder form appeared with characteristic dinosaur motifs, her Terra Scream capacity visibly augmented by the observatory's harmonic environment. Naruto's transformation, however, demonstrated the advancements from Aisha's training. The Dragon Sage armor materialized with enhanced definition, the green base now F. Featuring golden sage markings that extended throughout the entire suit in precise patterns. The dragon shield covering his chest pulsed with integrated energy, chakra and grid power flowing in perfect complementary circuits rather than forced conjunction. "Whoa," Kira remarked, observing the visible improvements. "That's definitely upgraded." Integration training appears successful, Gen noted with professional approval. Energy efficiency improved approximately 43% based on visual assessment. "It feels different," Naruto confirmed through his dragon-themed helmet. "Like the energies are cooperating rather than competing." Another violent impact interrupted their assessment as exterior barriers approached critical failure thresholds. Aisha's voice came through communication systems. "Barrier collapse imminent. Prepare for direct confrontation." The entrance portal reconfigured, creating an exit vector designed to deploy them at tactically advantageous positions around the observatory perimeter. As the final barrier collapsed, the 3 rangers charged forward, weapons materializing as they engaged the waiting hunters. Outside, chaos erupted immediately. The dimensional hunt. Had established perfect containment formation, their specialized weapons already tracking the rangers' emergence patterns. Unlike the mindless sentries encountered previously, these opponents demo NSTRATED tactical intelligence and coordinated strategy. Naruto found himself facing a hunter whose armor incorporated elements distinctly reminiscent of shinobi design, lightweight composites optimized for speed rather than power. With sensor arrays specifically calibrated to track chakra emissions. The hunter moved with fluid grace that confirmed Naruto's earlier suspicion: this opponent had encountered or extensively studied ninja combat techniques. "Target acquired," the hunter announced in mechanically distorted voice. "Dragon Sage variant identified, implementing containment protocol 7. The hunter's gauntlets reconfigured, generating energy fields specifically modulated to disrupt chakra flow patterns. Naruto recognized the danger immediately. This technology mimicked the Hyuga clan's gentle fist technique, targeting chakra points rather than physical structures. "You've studied my world's techniques," Naruto noted, adapting his stance to counter the anticipated attack pattern. But studying isn't experiencing. He created 3 shadow clones, not the dozen he might normally deploy, but each representing perfect energy integration after Aisha's training. The hunter paused momentarily, sensors recalibrating to assess the unexpected energy distribution across multiple targets. "Shadow replication technique identified," the hunter announced, adapting with disturbing efficiency. Countermeasures deployed. The hunter's armor emitted a pulse specifically calibrated to disrupt chakra constructs. 2 clones immediately destabilized, their forms wavering before dissipating. But the third remained solid, adapting to the disruption frequency with the enhanced resilience provided by grid integration. "That's new," the remaining clone taunted, drawing the hunter's attention while the original Naruto circled behind. Across the battlefield, Kira engaged a hunter whose weaponry suggested specialization against sonic capabilities. Her opponent's armor incorporated acoustic dampening field specifically designed to neutralize her terror scream. When she attempted her signature attack, the sound waves dissipated harmlessly against the hunter's defensive systems. Sonic attack ineffective, the hunter noted with mechanical precision. Implementing counter-offensive protocol, the hunter's shoulders opened, revealing specialized sound cannons that generate inverted frequency patterns, weaponized noise cancellation designed to not merely block but reverse her sonic abilities. Kira recognized the danger immediately, dodging laterally as the counter wave sliced through her previous position with enough force to shatter stone. "Two can play the sound game," she muttered, adapting her strategy. Rather than direct sonic attack, she began modulating her terror scream at varying frequencies, creating unpredictable pattern shifts that forced the hunter's systems into continuous recalibration. Meanwhile, Jen faced perhaps the most dangerous opponent, a hunter specifically designed to counter time force technology. Its armor incorporated temporal stabilizers that rendered her chronological manipulation abilities largely ineffective, while its weapon's systems were calibrated to disrupt her Chrono Blaster's energy signature. Time Force Ranger identified, the hunter announced with the same mechanical precision as its counterparts. Temporal containment protocols active. Jen's training proved invaluable as she adapted to these limitations, relying on physical combat skills rather than technological advantages. Her movements demonstrated why Time Force officers received the most comprehensive hand-to-hand combat training of any Ranger team. She engaged directly, using the hunter's specialized focus against it by employing basic combat techniques requiring no technological enhancement. As the battles progressed, Naruto maintained awareness of his teammates' situations while focusing on his own opponent. The shinobi specialized hunter demonstrated disturbing familiarity with standard ninja combat patterns, anticipating traditional attacks with mechanical precision. But Naruto's fighting style had evolved beyond conventional shinobi techniques, incorporating elements from multiple disciplines including Sage Combat, Nine-Tails cooperation modes, and now Ranger tactical approaches. "You've studied outdated data," Naruto realized, identifying weaknesses in the hunter's prediction algorithms. "Your analysis is based on how I fought during the war, not who I am now." The hunter paused, sensors recalibrating as it processed this assessment. The momentary hesitation provided opening enough for Naruto to implement his evolved strategy. Rather than attacking directly, he channeled combined chakra and grid energy into the dragon dagger, transforming it from mere weapon to conduit for interdimensional harmonic resonance. "Let's see how your systems handle this," he challenged, the blade glowing with emerald and golden light. Dragon Sage Harmonic Strike. The technique wasn't merely physical, it propagated across dimensional frequencies, disrupting the hunter's specialized armor at the quantum level. Systems designed to counter chakra or grid energy separately proved vulnerable to their perfectly harmonized integration. Components sparked and failed as the hunter struggled to compensate for attack parameters outside its analytical framework. Seeing Naruto's success, Kira adapted her approach accordingly. Rather than continuing ineffective sonic attacks, she channeled her dinosaur gem's energy in new patterns inspired by their recent training. Terra Harmonic Resonance. Her yellow energy shifted frequency, suddenly compatible with the dimensional patterns Naruto had established. The hunter facing her found its acoustic countermeasures suddenly ineffective against attack patterns that existed partially between dimensional frequencies rather than solely within standard sonic parameters. Jen observed these successes with tactical assessment, identifying the emergent pattern. Without communicating directly, she adjusted her time force techniques to complement the harmonic approach. Chrono-dimensional flux. Pink temporal energy synchronized with the established pattern, creating three-part harmonic convergence that affected all targets simultaneously. The hunter's specialized systems, designed to counter specific individual abilities, proved vulnerable to synchronized attacks across multiple dimensional frequencies. Systems failing, the lead hunter announced as coordinated functions deteriorated. Dimensional stabilizers compromised. Emergency extraction required. The six hunters retreated into defensive formation, their individual specializations proving ineffective against the Ranger's unexpected harmonic coordination. Emergency teleportation protocols activated, dimensional portals forming around each unit. Target acquisition unsuccessful, one reported through failing communication systems. Retreat and recalibration required. Don't let them escape with tactical data. Jen warned, recognizing the strategic implications of allowing Draken to analyze their new capabilities. Naruto understood immediately, channeling maximum power through the Master Morpher. Dragon Sage. Dimensional disruption wave. Golden green energy expanded outward in concentric rings, interfering with the hunters' teleportation frequencies. Their retreat portals destabilized, collapsing into chaotic energy vortices that threatened to scatter their component particles across multiple dimensional planes. The hunters' self-preservation protocols activated emergency overrides. Rather than risk incomplete teleportation, their armor initiated complete data purge and physical self-destruct sequences. 6 synchronized explosions rocked the mountainside as the hunters eliminated themselves rather than return with failure or fall into enemy hands. When the smoke cleared, nothing remained but scattered components rapidly dissolving into interdimensional particles, leaving no recoverable technology for either side to salvage. That was. Kira began, transformation receding as immediate danger passed. Efficient. Jen assessed professionally, her own armor dissolving. Disturbing, Naruto concluded, returning to normal form with thoughtful concern. They sacrificed themselves rather than risk capture. Standard protocol for Draken's elite units, Aisha explained, emerging from the observatory now that external threats had been neutralized. They're conditioned to value mission objectives above survival. That's not just conditioning, Naruto noted grimly, years of facing fanatical opponents evident in his assessment. That's ideological commitment. They believe in whatever Drakens promised them. Many do, Aisha acknowledged, surveying the battlefield with analytical detachment. Others serve through technological compulsion or dimensional hostage scenarios. Draken employs multiple control methodologies depending on unit classification. How do you know so much about his operations? Jen questioned, professional suspicion reasserting itself now that combat adrenaline receded. Because I've been monitoring dimensional threats since escaping my own reality's conquest, Aisha replied with quiet intensity. In my original dimension, I was Yellow Ranger when Draken's forces arrived. I witnessed firsthand what happens when worlds are unprepared for his invasion strategies. Her revelation silenced them momentarily, context shifting around her extensive knowledge. Naruto studied her with newfound understanding, recognizing the subtle indicators of survivor's determination beneath her scholarly demeanor. You're not just a researcher, he realized. You're a resistance fighter. Both, Aisha confirmed without elaboration. Knowledge preservation becomes resistance during existential threats. Understanding dimensional dynamics is crucial to countering Draken's strategies. The observatory, Kira surmised, connecting implications. It's not just a research facility, it's a resistance coordination point. One of several established across dimensions, Aisha acknowledged. Though most remain dormant until activation criteria are met. Such as the Dragon Sage's emergence, Jen deduced, professional assessment integrating this EU intelligence into her tactical understanding. Precisely. Aisha gestured toward the damaged but still functional observatory. Which is why we must complete Naruto's training immediately. The Hunter's attack confirms Draken has prioritized capturing or eliminating the Dragon Sage before full integration can be achieved. How much more training is required? Naruto questioned. Practical concerns superseding theoretical completeness. You've established foundational harmonic resonance, Aisha assessed. Further refinement would be optimal but not essential for preliminary field operations. Based on combat performance just demonstrated, you've achieved approximately 78% integration efficiency. Sufficient for nexus point stabilization attempts. Jen inquired, temporal consideration. Evident in her professional assessment. Theoretically yes, Aisha confirmed. Though initial attempts should target locations with naturally compatible energy signatures to maximize success probability. The Valley of the End. Naruto suggested immediately. It's already a convergence point between opposing chakra types. If I can harmonize Hashirama and Madara's residual energies with grid power, the resulting stabilization would create cascading harmonic effects across multiple nexus points, Aisha completed his thought, approving the strategic approach. An efficient application of limited resources. Then that's our next objective, Kira decided with practical determination. Return to Naruto's dimension and secure the valley before Draken's forces corrupt it. Not all of us, Naruto countered. Tactical considerations forming. Someone needs to secure Angel Grove Harbor, the equivalent nexus point in this dimension. If both locations stabilize simultaneously, the harmonic resonance between them would multiply effectiveness exponentially. Dividing our forces presents significant tactical vulnerability, Gen cautioned, professional assessment identifying obvious risks. Concentration presents greater strategic vulnerability, Naruto countered respectfully. If we focus entirely on one dimension, Draken gains uncontested access to the other. Their tactical debate was interrupted by urgent communication alert from the observatory systems. A holographic display materialized, showing Sakura's face with evident concern. Emergency transmission from Konoha, she announced without preamble. The Valley of the End is under direct assault. Not sentries, something different. Hinata's team engaged but reports unusual energy signatures unlike previous Ranger technology. Dimensional hunters, Naruto identified grimly. Draken's targeting the nexus point directly. Worse, Sakura continued, medical expertise evident as she analyzed incoming field reports. Whatever these new enemies are using, it's not just attacking our forces, it's corrupting the valley's natural energy patterns. Hinata reports the entire area's chakra signature is destabilizing. He's initiating disruptive resonance, Aisha interpreted with alarmed understanding. Corrupting the nexus point to prevent harmonization. If the valley's energy signature fully destabilizes, Naruto began, immediately grasping strategic implications. The resulting dimensional fracture would cascade throughout your world's chakra network, Aisha confirmed his unspoken concern. Expanding corruption zones impossible to reclaim. We need to move now, Naruto decided, decision crystallizing with characteristic determination. Kira, come with me to the valley. Gen, coordinate, with time forced to secure Angel Grove Harbor. What about me? Aisha questioned, clearly prepared to contribute beyond research support. Your observatory contains critical intelligence too valuable to risk in direct confrontation. Gen assessed with professional pragmatism. And someone needs to coordinate between dimensions while we're deployed. Aisha nodded, accepting this logic despite evident desire for more active participation. The observatory can establish direct communication channels between operation zones. I'll provide real-time intelligence and dimensional stability assessments. Decision made. They moved with practiced efficiency toward implementation. Naruto created multiple shadow clones, assigning specific coordination functions to each. One would remain with Aisha. One would accompany Gen to Angel Grove Harbor, while the original and remaining clone would travel with Kira to the Valley of the End. As they prepared for interdimensional transit, Aisha approached Naruto with something held carefully in her hands, a small crystalline object that pulsed with gentle luminosity. Take this, she instructed, placing it in his palm. Harmonic resonance crystal attuned to both energy frequencies. It will help stabilize dimensional transfer and provide communication link regardless of interference patterns. Naruto accepted the crystal, noting how it responded to his chakra signature with complementary pulsation. Thank you, not just for this, for all your research. For being prepared when we weren't. Preparation remains essential, Aisha replied with quiet intensity. But adaptation determines survival. Your natural capabilities in that regard exceed any preparation Draken could have implemented. As the observatory's dimensional transport system activated, Naruto and Kira took position on the designated platform. Energy coalesced around them, preparing for transfer across reality boundaries. Be careful, Gen advised as final preparations completed. Time Force tactical assessment suggests Draken will escalate response patterns following Hunter team failure. We'll be ready, Kira assured her, Morpher already positioned for immediate activation upon arrival. And we won't be alone, Naruto added with confidence born of experience rather than bravado. My friends have never let me down when it matters most. Dimensional energy enveloped them completely, their physical forms transitioning between realities. As they departed, Aisha turned to Gen with scholarly assessment that carried deeper implications. The harmonic reso, Nance they demonstrated during combat exceeded theoretical parameters, she noted thoughtfully. Particularly between Naruto and Kira's energy signatures. I observed similar compatibility patterns, Jen acknowledged. Professional analysis extending beyond tactical considerations to interpersonal dynamics. Their natural frequencies align with minimal modulation requirements. More than tactical advantage, Aisha suggested with knowing perception. The dimensional convergence affects personal connections as readily as physical systems. Energy recognizes compatible patterns regardless of origin reality. You're suggesting romantic potential has interdimensional significance? Jen questioned with scientific skepticism despite her own observations. I'm suggesting nothing happens without purpose during convergence events. Aisha replied cryptically, particularly involving the Dragon Sage. In the Valley of the End, natural beauty had given way to corruption and chaos. The massive statues of Hashirama and Madara that had stood sentinel for generations now cracked with veins of sickly purple energy. The waterfall between them no longer flowed with clear mountain water but with viscous liquid that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Throughout the valley, reality itself appeared to warp and distort as dimensional barriers thinned under systematic assault. At the valley's center, surrounded by fallen shinobi defenders, stood a single figure whose presence radiated malevolent authority. Unlike the mechanical hunters or mass-produced sentries, this entity moved with fluid grace suggesting fully organic composition. Armor of midnight blue with silver accents covered a distinctly human form, while the helmet featured optical enhancements reminiscent of the Byakugan's all-seeing capacity. Dimensional corruption at 47% and rising, the figure reported, communicating through technologies beyond shinobi comprehension. Estimated time to irreversible destabilization, 17 minutes. The response came not from Draken but from another voice altogether, one that carried the cultured inflections of Konoha's political elite rather than interdimensional conqueror. Excellent, Kagato, the unseen collaborator approved. The Dragon Sage will undoubtedly respond to this threat. Ensure the corruption advances sufficiently before engaging him directly. And the Hyuga? Kagato questioned, gesturing toward a fallen figure whose long indigo hair spread across the corrupted ground. Hinata lay unconscious but alive, her Byakugan deactivated, vulnerable amid dimensional chaos. She demonstrated unexpected perceptual adaptation to morphing grid energies. Bring her, the voice instructed with calculating interest. Her visual capabilities warrant further study. The Byakugan's ability to perceive interdimensional frequencies presents both opportunity and threat. As you wish, Lord Shimura, Kagato acknowledged, moving toward the fallen Kunoichi with purposeful stride. Before he could reach her, a flash of emerald and golden light illuminated the valley as dimensional transfer completed. Naruto and Kira materialized at the cliff edge, their revel sending ripples through the corrupted energy patterns infecting the historic site. Kagato turned toward the new arrivals, optical sensors analyzing their power signatures with clinical precision. Dragon Sage detected, he reported dispassionately, accompanied by Yellow Dino Thunder Ranger. Corruption progress insufficient for optimal confrontation parameters. Improvise, Lord Shimura, instructed through secured communication channels. Delay them while the corruption anchors permanently. Once the nexus point destabilizes completely, even the Dragon Sage cannot reclaim it. Understood, Kagato acknowledged, weapons systems activating as he prepared to confront the interdimensional defenders. Behind his helmet, lips curved in anticipation of battle against worthy opponents, Ciali one whose abilities might finally present meaningful challenge. Above the valley, storm clouds gathered unnaturally, lightning crackling with purple-tinged energy as dimensional barriers continued deteriorating under systematic assault. The convergence accelerated, but whether toward harmonious integration or catastrophic collapse remained to be determined by the conflict unfolding below. The legacy of the dragon would be written in the energies of two worlds, forever changing both. For salvation or destruction remained to be seen. Chapter 3 End. The End. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.